Hey everyone, another episode of the Essays and Espresso podcast. We got a special one this time, another spoiler cast, another extravaganza, whatever we're calling this. We always change it, whatever, doesn't matter.
We do not change it. You guys just pretend that we change it, and then I keep it the same.
You fucking Acer always puts extravaganza in the thumbnail. You title it fucking special. And I always call it a spoiler cast. Because it is. It's a spoiler cast. We're spoiling the whole thing. That's the whole point. Anyways. You've already heard them already. That was Acer and Boken. But we also have a guest. Razbuten. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Great. Life's good. You know me?
Well, hey. To those that don't know, Razbuten is a fellow YouTuber. He is most known for his videos where he forces his wife to play video games. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
But don't be fooled. Those aren't the only videos he's made. He's also made a few other really good videos. He has one about the color purple in video gaming and how they represent corruption. And he just recently released a video about vibe checks in games. So after you're done with this, be sure to check out his stuff. Now, we're gathered here today because we're here to talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Aren't you going to introduce me?
No, because no, shut up.
I'm also
Why?
Okay.
Why do you always do this?
I love just the combative energy of this podcast. Just the first minute. That's how you know it's a good one. Is when the hosts are already trying to destroy each other.
See, Daniel said earlier that you've already heard both of them, and then he introduced you. I hadn't said anything because I was going to hijack your introduction when he was like, we have a very special guest. I was going to be like, yes, hello, it's me. But...
but your shtick doesn't work because you just explained it after the fact.
No, it wouldn't have worked anyway.
Retake it. Daniel, start from the top. You hit the special guest. Let's retake the bit.
Why y'all doing this to me?
I like it when the guests are on my side.
Stop. We're this train is gonna keep rolling, okay? All right. So, Boken, this was your idea. You wanted to talk about Avatar. Explain yourself, sir.
Well, I do, because this is in my top 3 shows of all time, pretty much. I mean, it's pretty lodged in there. You guys have seen it. I think there are a lot of good reasons to talk about this. I don't know. It's a show that I've grown up with, that I really got into when I was younger and before I was on the internet. So like connected to all the people like you guys who also share interest in just talking about media. And then I got to this point where eventually when I got onto the internet and on like Twitter and all that shit, to realize that most people love this show as much as I do, and it's just consensually agreed upon that this show is pretty amazing by, as far as I know, everyone. Like the worst people say about this is it's not as good as other people say, which is not a criticism. But yeah, it's just makes you feel kind of smug to have latched onto something on your own and then have that reflected by everyone around you that, yes, my opinion is right. So yeah, I don't know. I think this show is fantastic. It does pretty much everything right. I have very little criticisms about it. So that's why I wanted to watch it again.
All right, okay. Acer, did you have any prior experience with this show by any chance?
No. No, I don't think so.
No? Yeah, me neither. I this was my first... Well, I technically did watch a few episodes here and there because my sister watched it when we were growing up, but otherwise, this was my first time like sitting down, like watching the whole thing. But Raz, what about you? What's your history with this show?
Yeah, I watched it when I was younger too. I had a weird viewing order because I remember I think I was probably in middle school or, like 12, 13, I suppose. We have an international, we have international hosts, so I imagine an international audience as well. So I guess saying middle school might not. I have no idea. I'm going on a long rant about middle school. What's middle school like for you guys?
Middle school was the worst for me. I fucking hated middle school, dude.
We don't have middle school in Iceland. We just go elementary, high school, college.
Fair enough.
So you go from elementary to high school?
Yeah.
Probably for the best.
When did Avatar come out? Just to clear this up.
I think the first episode aired 2000. I think it was 2004 or 2006.
Yeah.
So either 2004 to 2007 or 2006 to 2009 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so about that time frame.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry for sorry. So I was relatively young. I remember seeing it on Nickelodeon, and it was like midway through the second season. I was just like, wow, this show looks really cool. I've never seen a cartoon on Nickelodeon like this. So I started watching somewhere. I think, not to get too much into later in the series, I think the first episode I saw was the library, which is a weird place to start, but I think it actually helped as we'll surely talk about. The first few episodes and the first season in general can be a little tougher of a watch, I think. So I think getting hooked by starting in like the heart of the series and then going back helped me a fair bit into getting into it. But yeah, I'm a fan of it growing up. And then I don't know. I think I've probably watched it about once a year since I first watched it. I'm one of those. I like going back to it. There's just there's a handful of episodes that always make me laugh. There's some that like genuinely make me well up. So if I need to feel something, if I'm in one of those days where I need to feel something, Avatar is a good place to go to.
Interesting. Okay. Cool. So,
do you wanna? I have some trivia that might make you start crying. This show has its origin in Family Guy. Did you guys know that?
No, you're lying to me.
And King of the Hill. Yeah.
No, this is true, Daniel. So the creators worked at Film Roman, which is an animation studio that made The Simpsons, it made Family Guy, it made King of the Hill. But the creators specifically, I believe, got together while they were working on Family Guy. Like the two main creators.
I can believe that. Okay. At first, I thought you meant it in like a different way. I actually didn't even know what you meant. Where you're like, "Oh yeah, it started with Family Guy." Like, what the fuck is that?
Peter Griffin is actually the Avatar. I don't know if you knew that.
Didn't you guys think it was weird? They had that talking dog with them the whole time.
Zuko's arc is actually pretty based around Brian and the way he changes throughout the series.
Oh yeah.
See, I thought that would have been Momo.
See, I also thought that probably makes more sense as Stewie because he begins as evil, but then he gets sweeter.
True. Shit.
You just dropped the ball.
So yeah, big thanks to Family Guy.
I wanted to ask this before we start jumping into the show itself. There seems to be this really weird thing where people like to compare Avatar to anime. And I know that Avatar is very anime inspired. I think that's pretty obvious when you watch it. But I don't know if you guys seen the same things I have, but there's just been like this weird thing where where people are like, Avatar is better than any anime and like shit like that. I don't know. What's up with that? What are your guys' take on this? Because it always seems like really weird to me.
I think it's first of all just that it has a more anime aesthetic than most Western shows. but also because this show's premise would work as a shonen anime.
Yes.
But I
agree with that.
But if you look at the writing, and more specifically the comedy, it's more like stretchy Looney Tunes cartoon comedy than it is anime, I think.
Yeah, because as a huge weeb, most anime comedy is fucking terrible. Like, it's just straight trash.
Yeah.
And Avatar is genuinely funny, so like that automatically makes it much more funny than any other anime.
But don't you think it's funny in Full Metal Alchemist when Edward Elric's face turns into like a crocodile man and he makes a comment? Isn't that just immediately comedy?
No.
I never got the anime comparison. Like the more I watch this show, the less this even looks like an anime to me. And then I don't know if maybe like this is very rooted in Asian culture, the entire show. So maybe it has something to do with that, but I feel like nothing is specifically Japanese in this. It's more a lot of, Chinese architecture and just clothing styles and stuff.
It's interesting you say that, because I actually felt like the more the show goes on, the more it felt like I was watching an anime. Because like I felt like the first season of the show was more like not quite Monster of the Week, but like it is more like episodic in nature, and most anime tend not to be like that. But then by like season 3, like every episode is like threaded into each other, and that more like overarching narrative felt more like I was watching something like like Acer mentioned, like a Full Metal Alchemist or something like that. What's your take on this, Raz?
I think that it doesn't feel like an anime to me. I mean, I hear what you're saying of how that kind of the more, looking at the arc opposed to the episode feels like less Nickelodeon, right? Because how many Nickelodeon shows, not to say that there was no things that went from episode to episode, right? Because there was some growth in stuff like SpongeBob, some, but not a ton.
Not the pool I was expecting, but okay.
But right, like most Nickelodeon shows, you watch any episode, and you know what's going on. Where Avatar, even where I picked up, but like, yeah, if your first episode of Avatar is Appa's Lost Days, it's like, what is this show?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I agree with you in that sense of most anime. Like I would never say just watch a random episode. I mean, I'm sure there are anime shows or anime that you can just watch any episode. That's how it's designed. But most that I've experienced and most that I've seen, doing that is a terrible idea.
The only ones I could think of right now are probably Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. But yeah, most anime don't go for that episodic style. Like it's almost always like an overarching narrative, and all the characters are working towards some goal, or all the episodes are connected to each other. It's a continuous story. And even in Avatar's defense, even in season 1, there is like a general goal that all the characters are working towards.
Yeah.
But a lot of the individual episodes are still these self-contained stories where you could jump into like the Great Divide episode or whatever, and it's just this like self-contained story. You can just watch it. You could just enjoy it as its like own little thing.
I feel so intimidated listening to you guys name episodes like by their actual names. I'm so out of my depth.
It's bad. It's bad. I think I can name pretty much every episode.
Yeah, me too.
One thing I will say about the first season, when we're talking about like how, I think the standalone episode structure and a lot of episodes in season 1 are bookended in a very sort of He-Man Thundercats way, where Zuko is like, "Ooh, I'll catch the Avatar next week."
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. I noticed this on this run especially.
Yeah, Zuko is like on his fucking boat, and he's just like, grrr, Avatar, and Iroh's just like vibing with his tea. He's just like, yo, chill, man.
And in this episode, I'm going to team up with pirates.
And then the Gangos has like a lesson that they learn, like lying is bad unless, you're trying to bring people together, I guess. Yeah. The Great Divide still makes no sense to me is what I'm trying to tell you. But
I think that wins the award of like worst episode.
Do we maybe?
I think most people would agree.
Do we maybe just want to go through the seasons before we dive too deep into it?
Well, that was an episode in season 1, to be fair.
Okay.
But whatever. Anyways, so a lot of people seem to say that season 1 is the weakest one. And I think I do agree with that sentiment. But I will say that, like, especially after I finished the show, I think season 1 kind of grew on me. Because, like, by the end of the show where the stakes are really high and, like, you have all these, like, threaded narratives that are, like, coalescing and coming together, especially all the callbacks from season 1, I kind of like looked back upon the quaintness of season 1 more fondly. Like season 1 had like a real adventurous vibe to it where like it's just the gang, they're just going out, having adventures, having a good time. And that is kind of lost at some point throughout the show. So even though I would kind of agree in like a technical sense that season 1's probably like not up to snuff compared to the other seasons, I kind of look back on season 1 going like, you know what, I still really enjoyed it. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think like compared to the other seasons, like it's probably the one that like would probably be the easiest to go back to, just because like you don't have to like get invested in all the stuff that happens in the later seasons. Like you could just like pop up a random episode if you just feel like getting a taste of the show, and just like and that's it.
I would also say that season 1 feels like the most kid friendly of the seasons. Like I feel like this whole show kind of grows. I'm not sure if I would say with its audience. Maybe I'd have to look at when these came out, but it feels like Harry Potter, where it starts out as a kids series and then turns into a young adult series as it goes on.
I would agree with that. I think it is fair to say that it grows with its audience, because I think like every season came out like a year from each other. So I think that makes sense.
While I would definitely say the first season is the weakest season, I also don't think I'd want it to be different. If it had the same flow or the same vibe as season 2 and 3, I think that would hurt the show as like a piece. I think the kind of ambling nature of those first handful of episodes, of you're saying like the quaintness and having it be like Team Zuko's blasting off again each episode. It's just like there's a value to that, and it's a slow establishment of the characters, and it's easy. Also, if you think about it from a like trying to pull viewers in perspective, it kind of casts a net where you do to a degree need to watch most of the episodes to understand what's going on. But you can also pick up at a bunch of places in season 1 and be like, oh, I like this.
Yeah.
And I can understand what's going on easily enough. I'm going to watch more, which I think is probably a good thing for your first season to have, is like a way to bring the most amount of people in without getting too confusing too quickly or moving too fast too quickly.
Season 1 is definitely the most accessible. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
so I think there's value to that.
Yeah, but its accessibility, like not just in that less stuff has happened in the show so that you're more in on the loop, but also like it's like we talked about with Zuko, and we'll try to get him next week. It leans more on conventional cartoon tropes, so that you kind of get what's going on much quicker.
Season 1 doesn't feel as deep to me as the other ones. No. I will say it has some really great episodes, though, that do touch on the more serious topics that the show later goes into.
Particularly like the last few episodes.
Yeah, sure. Those anyway, but also like the Blue Spirit has always stood out to me because it's the first one where Zuko, like it's foreshadowing of Zuko slowly turning. The last shot where Zuko not only saved the Avatar, but then he like lies in bed and he turns away from the Fire Nation emblem, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I agree with what you said, Raz, where like, yeah, season 1's technically the weakest, but like I wouldn't want it changed. And I think a big reason for that is Zuko, because this was the season that we got to see Zuko at his worst. And if we didn't see that, I don't think we would be able to appreciate his eventual like growth as a character as much. Like we need to see these characters like suck first before we can see them, before we can appreciate like how much they want to make, like particularly like in season 3 where he makes like a concerted effort to change and want to be better. I feel like a lot of this show's like heart and soul is Zuko.
He's the best written character, I think, by a pretty wide margin.
I don't know. I think you're selling the Cabbage Merchant a little short, unfortunately.
Oh, that's true.
It's a little rude to him, but I mean, you're right. Zuko's great.
If you don't have Zuko, you lose. I think obviously aside from Aang, I think Zuko is the most integral character to the show's identity. Because a lot of the show is about how, and a lot of the best moments in the show are these characters grow and they change, and the show is really interested in exploring that. And I think Zuko just has the most growth out of anyone.
He also has interesting dynamics with pretty much every character in the show. Like every major character in the show, he has some sort of interesting dynamic with.
Yeah.
Which you can't say for everyone else.
Cabbage
Patch salesman, sadly.
Hey man, Cabbage salesman was a legend.
True. I guess we don't have a lot of interactions between Zuko and the Cabbage salesman, which is certainly a weak point of the series.
Can I ask you a question? Who the hell is this cabbage salesman you're talking about?
my cabbages, dude.
He was a running gag in season 1 where like his cabbage is just kept getting fucked over. Like
I don't remember this guy.
Dude.
Yeah, like I think Appa like flies through him, breaks it at one point.
I'll take your word for it that this character exists.
He just wants to sell cabbages, and then they fuck him over every time.
I guess I didn't. He wasn't memorable enough. I haven't watched it.
Wow.
He was like, oh, my cabbages.
Did you not notice him?
I think he appeared again in season 2, towards the end.
I think he's mentioned in season 3 in the Ember Island Players. Like he's one of the sources for the play.
Oh wow, I didn't even remember that.
Listen, I've watched too much of this show.
Clearly,
my small bit like input. It's a lot. I got a lot of little factoids.
That's why we brought you on.
You know what was my favorite episode? You know what's my favorite episode of season 1 was when Aang went into the old Airbender palace and there were people living there. I love that episode because Aang is like, you desecrated this place that was so sacred to me. And I love that character moment, but I find it just so funny that the moment that's sort of revealed, the camera just sort of does this pan up and you see this beautiful mural and it's just like gas pipes sticking out of the wall. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you guys...
Wait, was that season 1? I thought that was season 2.
Was that season... No, I think that was season 1.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. I also like that episode because it does that Western animation thing that I love, where you can have just a full-blown war, but it's super kid-friendly and nobody dies.
Yeah.
They have like parachutes shoot out all the time. It's wild how much attention to detail they have to not killing people.
And that's just one of those. I love all the fights in the show. I think the choreographies are fantastic, Like there are a lot of details to pick out there, but that is one of those details where it always feels like people get hit and they get hurt, but it's never fatal except for Jet. And even there, it's not really shown.
It's really unclear.
They always manage to storyboard these fights in a way where they still get like, oh, I'm gonna get a little bit of water in front of my body to soften the blow, but I still get hit, and then I'm on the ground, and that's how the character loses the fight, but doesn't die. And they manage to do that every time, and it never bothered me.
I always thought it was really funny how in that episode, the play, where one of the characters is like, wait, did Jet die? And then Sokka, he was like, yeah, it wasn't really made clear. I find that interesting because like I thought it was pretty clear that he did die. That's like, because he was saying that like, oh, I'm fine, and then Toph pointed out like, no, he's lying. So I thought that was a strong, at least, implication that he wasn't going to make it. And then he never shows up again.
Yeah.
I just realized we haven't really explained what the show is about. Do we?
I guess not. I mean, it's kind of assumed. It's kind of assumed that if you're listening to this, though, like you are familiar with the show.
I don't think a brief little recap hurts anyone, though. Aang is the Avatar, and he fucked off, and everything turned bad. But now he's back, and he's gonna get his groove back.
I believe Aang can save the world.
Yeah, I think that's how the intro goes.
Yeah.
And it's because the Fire Nation are a bunch of assholes, and they're just like, we want the world for ourselves.
Nah, maybe the Fire Nation has a point.
But yeah, so Aang was away for 100 years, and these two characters, Sokka and Katara, find him. He's the Avatar, he's the master of all elements, and he basically sets out to master all elements except airbending because he's already a pretty competent airbender. And also the last one, as the title says. And so in season 1, or book 1, Water, as it's called, he learns to waterbend because they go to the North Pole at the end.
Yeah.
And defend it. And as we already said, it's the most adventurous one because this is really they do go to a lot of places in season 1. Like they go to the swamp where they see the plant benders, and they come into contact with the Earth Nation where they free a village. And also another one of my favorite episodes is the Deserter, where they meet this old firebending master who's outlawed.
Oh yeah.
Who I find like Aang becomes very scared of firebending because it's so destructive, and I think that's a very interesting part of the philosophy of just fire, and that is also in season 1. Like that little theme just gets brought up, and it's a cool episode to have a firebending master who is also deathly afraid of his own powers.
Yeah, he even like remarked to Katara, he was like, "Oh, I wish I was born a waterbender because I'm cursed with this destructive fire."
Yeah, but
I thought that was interesting.
I think it's interesting, just jumping 2 seasons ahead, when Zuko gets his groove back. Like, the firebending that the Fire Nation practices, it seems to be the wrong kind. Like, it seems like they've corrupted the teaching, because maybe we'll talk more about this later, but when he gets the more powerful firebending, it's like it doesn't come from anger or destruction.
No, yeah, it comes from passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also interesting, and I think it also kind of ties in with this idea that, because for the longest time in the show, while the Fire Nation wasn't shown as just being 100% evil, they were still like portrayed as like pretty evil. And I think season 3 was trying to rectify that and show like, no, the Fire Nation are not like inherently evil, they're just misguided.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the ways that they got that across, where like, see, firebending itself is not this hate-filled thing, it's just that the Fire Nation, misunderstand it. And it took Zuko to go to the source of what fire really is and to uncover like, oh no, that's not, fire bending is not about being angry all the time. It's about like expressing your passion.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in season 1, it's a bit more morally black and white. Like this show doesn't have, in season 1 at least, doesn't have a lot of quote unquote good firebenders.
Iroh's good.
Yeah, Iroh, and then the master of the deserter.
This is a good question. Is Iroh good?
Yeah.
Is Iroh a war criminal? Is what I'm trying to get to.
He has a lot of fortune cookie wisdom.
I mean, I think Iroh's an interesting character in like that he also must have a pretty massive character arc that happens kind of before the show, which is teased a fair bit, right, with the death of his son,
the dragons
like
having taught him
over the dragons. Yeah, it's a lot of interesting things, but he also, it's like, when did he learn these lessons versus when was he actively a general in the Fire Nation army doing some pretty bad stuff, and I think it's an interesting thing of like, and it makes me like Iroh and Zuko's relationship more, because it's not just that Iroh's like always been a wise old man. It's that like Iroh kind of was like Zuko. Like, at some point in Iroh's life, he was a fervent Fire Nation general and believer and believed, must have believed, it couldn't have just been like this very dramatic long con he had of like, hey, when I'm 70, my nephew's gonna become Fire Lord, things will be better. Like, he must have at some point of his life, and we know when we see flashbacks of him like invading Ba Sing Se, like he's very kind of callous about it, like laughing about like, we're gonna burn the city to the ground, ha ha ha. And it's like, wow. So I don't know, I think it's an interesting thing of he is another character like Zuko who dramatically changes, just not throughout the course of the show so much.
Yeah, I also I like it also because he's like the wise man of the show, but he's not some old monk fart guy who's just been meditating for 50. Like this guy, when he tells you like anger is bad for you, you know he's telling the truth because he has a lot of baggage. Like he knows what he's talking about in a way Aang's pacifist masters just couldn't,
But at the same time, in season 1, he's kind of, I don't want to say lazy about teaching Zuko, but he does play it up with a lot of jokes, and he comes off very quirky. I don't know if this was intended, if he just was supposed to be the comedic sidekick at the beginning, or if he's just not sure how to teach Zuko this stuff, and he doesn't want to push it too hard.
I don't want to dig too deep into intentionality because the show is what it is regardless of what the creators intended. But I will say that thinking more about it, I feel like the way that Iroh has approached Zuko is it's not so much that like, oh, he's just trying to teach Zuko to be better. It's that he doesn't want Zuko to make the same mistakes he made. He sees a lot of himself in Zuko, and he wants to make sure that Zuko is on the right path. And whenever Zuko betrays that, it comes across more that Iroh is mad with himself, that he wasn't able to get across his teachings better, rather than him being disappointed in Zuko.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fair reading of it. And I think also, not to talk about intentionality, but to talk about my like interpretation of it is like, I feel like at first Iroh just wants to deprogram Zuko as much as he can, right? Like when he's like, "Hey, let's play Pai Cho," or let's play some music. He's just trying to be like, think about anything other than the Avatar. Zuko, for 2 seconds, just think about anything other than the Avatar. And it seems like maybe that's always how I kind of read Iroh's actions when he's like a lot goofier and less helpful in general to Zuko. It seems to me like he's like, I'm ride or die with you now because you need me and I need you. Yeah. And I'll I'm with you to the end, buddy. But I'm not trying to help you necessarily actually get the Avatar because I care more about you being better. And I'm sure at that point Iroh knows like the answer is not kidnapping Aang and destroying the entire world.
Yeah, I feel like Iroh starts out as somewhat just jaded of the Fire Nation war effort, and he only really turns on the whole Fire Nation in book 2 when they get outlawed or banished or whatever.
It's funny how you mentioned like he's not really invested in helping Zuko get the Avatar. I think a moment that was played up for laughs, but is actually kind of encompasses this is that episode with that chick with her the animal that she rides that has the really good sense of smell. Like towards the end of that episode, she like gets hit by her own animal and is paralyzed by the tongue, and then she falls on Iroh, and then Iroh's like, oh no, and then he's just like laying there like with the chick, and then Zuko's like, wait, I didn't see you get hit, and he's just like, shh.
It's a tough look from Iroh. That's a tough look from our guy Iroh.
but like if it like it's played up for laughs and it is meant to be a funny scene, but at the same time, like going back to what you said, if he actually was like really invested, like really wanted to help capture the Avatar, he could have like not done that and actually tried to like go after Aang.
Yeah. Also, like,
if you think about that whole fight, it's like them jumping around the Abbey, Aang just like zooming around everywhere as Zuko chases him. Iroh could just like bring up a wall of fire, right, to pretty much trap them in a contained area to not let Aang do all that. Yes. I mean, I think you're right. There are so many occasions where Iroh is around and could do something, but like is just like, I'm Iroh, I'm not doing anything, and just sits back. And I think, it's might have been to make it easier to animate, but also I have to imagine there is that sense of he doesn't actually care about Zuko getting Aang. In fact, he probably thinks that it's worse if that's the case.
I also think it's possible that maybe he was sailing with Zuko for 2 or 3 years or whatever, looking for the Avatar, not really expecting to find the Avatar, just like, hey, I get to spend time with Zuko. And then they find him and he's like, crap.
Yeah.
And what else is he supposed to do? Like maybe if he went back to his home, he would get, he would have to be a general again.
Yeah.
And sent into the war. So he just kind of chooses to stay with Zuko. The first time Iroh really gets angry and serious, I think, is at the end of season 1, right? When the General Zhao is threatening to kill the Moon Spirit. Mm-hmm. Because he knows that shit is actually serious and is going to throw the world off balance.
Yeah, and I feel like Iroh's character is like the epitome of the trope, the crouching dumbass, hidden badass. And have you not heard this before?
Never.
No?
It's amazing, though.
Think about it, though. Like, he fools people into thinking he's like this bumbling idiot, but like he's actually secretly like this fucking badass. And every time he's in a pinch, he's able to get out with some like crazy technique, like breathing fire or whatever.
Yeah.
Or bending lightning.
Or bending lightning, which that was one of my favorite things in the show, was like him teaching Zuko how to bend lightning, because it was not about fire bending, but it was about like learning from other cultures and integrating it with the fire bending. And he was able to teach Zuko like, hey, stop being so one-minded, stop thinking so narrowly. If you incorporate like other ways of thinking, you can better yourself.
To be precise, he doesn't teach Zuko lightning bending. He teaches him to redirect lightning. He doesn't teach him to create it himself.
Yeah, we are.
Because he doesn't believe in that.
Around the topic of killing the moon, I would like to ask you guys something. Are we in agreement that, if not the main thing, a very central theme of the show is the idea of man's interaction with, like, natural law? So you have, because I like to think that every time man in the show is shown to have a harmonious relationship with nature, it's always shown in a good light. And whenever he has an unharmonious relationship, it's always bad. Like, killing the moon, that's bad. Polluting that village, that's bad. And on top of that, you can even say that, like, the Avatar is like a component of the nature, and when Aang disappeared, bad things happened. So the natural harmony of the Avatar or whatever wasn't respected, and then bad things happen.
I'll say the one exception I can think of is the Northern Air Tribe episode you were mentioning earlier, which does start off as, this is bad, you've desecrated my home, but then Aang does turn around and have the, it's like a hermit crab, people just found their new shell. But I think in general, you're right. It's like, it seems like when it is the two things being able to coexist, even if one has moved a little further than it should, like with the Northern Air Temple, that's fine. But yeah, when it is something just completely taken over, right?
Yeah.
Like
the killing of the dragons,
killing the moon, killing the dragons.
I mean, I think you could look at the whole Fire Nation as a whole, and like the way that their culture is, it seems like very anti-nature in a way, because like all of their stuff is like heavy machinery, and everything is so like it's all about dominance and destruction.
Yeah, and that goes again to what we talked about earlier with the corrupted firebending, where Zuko learns that no, there's actually like you can live like firebending can be harmonious if you draw it from the right source. Yeah. That fish Sokka made for the girl, that was the ugliest fish I've ever seen.
Oh, can I just say, the fucking romance between Sokka and like the Moon Girl was fucking terrible. Like, it just literally came out of nowhere, and it's just they're just like in love with each other, and like
they don't have a lot of scenes together.
Yeah, it's like you don't know each other.
But it's worth it. If only for that line at the end where it's like, my ex became the moon. That's rough, buddy.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's almost worth it for that line, but like, yeah, it was just so weird.
Yeah, she's just kind of a blank slate,
yeah.
And they don't have enough scenes together to really sell the relationship.
I kind of get it. It's like, all right, it's young love.
Yeah. I don't know that it's meant to be like they would have gotten married had she not become the moon. Like it's Sokka's a young, strong warrior, and she's a beautiful princess of the Northern Water. Like it's like the natural reasons why they'd be attracted to each other, I think, are there. Sure. I would agree. It's not like a heavily established relationship.
I mean, no, yeah, I'm not saying like we needed to dedicate like a whole episode to their romance or anything like that, but I kind of just wish there was like a little bit more to their relationship. Like maybe they could have found some common ground. They could have talked a little bit more about like how they were, like just some commonalities between them that they can talk and delve into, because kind of as it was, like it just felt like the relationship was extremely shallow. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was kind of hard to be invested in that relationship when it ended, because I'm like, I was literally like, you barely knew each other, and now she's fucking dead. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just kind of fell flat for me.
You said earlier that Iroh was like the ultimate embodiment of the crouching dumbass, hidden badass. I would say Sokka is almost like the contender to the throne.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he is only a crouching dumbass in like season.
There's no badass at the end.
Well, to his
That's
credit,
not true.
to his credit, in the later episodes especially, he does actually become very competent.
Yeah.
But like in the earlier episodes, yeah, he's just an idiot, and that's another reason why I find it weird how like all the girls in the show fawn over him. I'm like, he's such a fucking moron though. Like Ty Lee is into him. Like
I think it's a writer insert. I think it's Sokka's the kind of dorky, funny guy, and that's every writer ever, right? So you want that guy to be the one who everyone is, in love with, and it's wish fulfillment.
Yeah.
That's my read on it.
Okay, fair enough.
And being like, hey, yeah, people like the funny guy. Sokka is the best though. I think like. Sure, Zuko's the best written character, blah, blah, blah. But Sokka is just the best in the show. Like,
sure.
I think you're right that the points earlier, without Zuko, Avatar is not Avatar. Like, there's no way the show makes any sense because he is the heart, I think, of the story. Mm-hmm. I think Sokka is the heart of... Let's just say the vibe. Like Sokka is so important to the pacing of the show.
He's funny. He's like Han Solo in the original Star Wars trilogy in that he's not the most powerful, he's not the most competent, but he's always there to tell people, shut up. He's always there to just ground the mood back to something that you can actually watch.
I think there's that one episode where he learns how to sword fight, and I think that episode really gets across what you're saying, because like suddenly the group dynamic just did not work anymore when Sokka was gone. Like Kitara was trying to be funny, and the rest of them were just looking at her and they're like, "Yeah, okay, when's Sokka coming back?"
Oh, hey, do you guys remember when Kitara got that prophecy? It's like, oh, your husband is gonna be a powerful bender, and she was like, oh, Aang is a powerful airbender. And it was like, that was how the episode ended. I was 100% sure that, no, that's the fake out. Zuko is gonna be your husband. Because I knew that he was gonna have like an arc. Was that just me?
No, I was 100% certain. Oh no, yeah, it's gonna be Aang.
Oh really?
Yeah, I never had a doubt. I was like, no, of course it's going to be Aang.
Real interesting.
When I was watching the show, at that point when I saw that episode for the first time, there was no reason in my mind why I would have thought it would have been Zuko.
True.
Just because, like, I just didn't know that he was going to... Like, I knew he was... You could tell he was going to have some sort of arc, but I didn't know it would be in the direction it was. So that wouldn't have... Didn't come on my radar.
In fairness, I had seen, like, I knew that Zuko was gonna become a good guy. I had seen, like, screenshot of him with long hair, and I was like, thank God.
Yeah. Like, that play episode where they make fun of him, and he's just like, but my honor, though. And he's like, I wasn't like that. And they're like, no, yeah, you kind of were. It's, like, it was so fucking on point. He was so obnoxious in the first season about that shit.
It's interesting when we bring up his hair. He and Aang, they're like character design wise, they're kind of mirroring each other. Like they're both kind of bald. They both have like a prominent facial feature, the arrow and the scar. But as Zuko's character develops, he becomes less of like a twisted mirror version of Aang.
And he becomes more himself.
Yeah.
And Aang goes back to the bald head.
Yeah.
As he returns eventually.
That was so painful, those episodes in season 3 when he had the hair. Like, why didn't he?
I like Aang.
I hated it. It was
like it.
painful to watch.
And the arrow's still sticking out. It's like no one will ever know.
But yeah, okay. So let's get back on track.
Yeah.
I guess we're at the end of season 1.
Yeah. Does anyone?
This is the first time I think that Avatar gets really epic.
Yeah.
And also just I love the ending. Like I love the Northern Water Tribe. Also, this is the first time I really piped up about the fight choreographies in this is the fight between Master Paku, I think,
and Katara.
That is such a good fucking fight, and it embodies so much how I just love how creative all the benders are with their powers. Like they use water and stone in so many different fucking ways, and it always feels fresh and new when they fight. And it's just beautifully animated. It flows always. I love the fights in this show so much.
My one complaint about that though is it felt like Kitara suddenly just like leveled up. If you know what I mean, like it wasn't that long ago where she was struggling to understand how to do like these water bending techniques from the scroll, and then all of a sudden she's going toe to toe with this master and was just like almost beat him. She still lost, I think, but like
she didn't really hurt him though. It's like that little hit that anime characters get in when they're supposed to lose, but also show that they are somewhat competent.
Still, like, she was still going toe-to-toe against him, and, like, yeah, she still lost, but, like, the level of competency there was, like, astronomical compared to, like, not even, like, 10 episodes ago.
Yeah, true.
I thought...
I do think, though, they show little clips of her and Aang training throughout and, you know...
Yeah.
Doing more and more things. So it's not as if like it's not as if it just went from her struggling with waterbending to her being super competent. Like I think they did show stuff. I mean, I agree. Like she is, we don't see anything nearly as epic from her before that, but I don't know. I thought the buildups they did to it was enough for me.
There was some buildup. You're right. I guess I'm just being a little nitpicky.
Yeah. You said that was your one nitpick. I was wondering, Daniel, what did you think when
No, I have other issues with
like
the show.
like about the conclusion or like about their relationship. I was wondering.
Wait. Between who?
Between Katara and Waterman, Aquaman.
Okay.
Waterman.
See, I remember reading your Twitter thread one time, that weird ranty one. I thought you were going to complain about how he changed this rule about teaching women.
Wait, what? What are you talking about? I didn't go on any Twitter rant. What are you talking about?
I'm doing one of those smear campaigns. Where you're like
piece of shit.
You're like
I understand what you tried to do, but really, like, I had to just go through everything you just said to make some sense of it.
Because
is he saying Daniel hates women?
Like, immediately when you said that, my mind was like doing a flashback. I'm like, what fucking tweets is he talking about?
When he's
I actually made an effort to not talk about Avatar on Twitter. I only just mentioned like, oh, I beat it.
When he
I did. I weathered it.
I beat it. I 100% did it.
When he was like, I don't teach women, I was like, damn. I thought that was a really
it's kind of an odd note. Like, this show doesn't really delve into
but
women politics or something like that. It's kind of weird that, you know, the women are just like, hey, go to the other women and learn healing.
Well, see, I saw that not as much like about the gender dynamics, and I was more interested in that as like traditions, because especially as it like contrasts to Zuko, and like, I have to reclaim my honor. Like, there's a certain way we do things in the Fire Nation, and I have to reclaim my honor. Meanwhile, Kitara is like, nah, like I don't need to, I can just learn waterbending. I'm not Zuko. I don't need approval from everyone else. I'm my own person. I always saw it more like that.
So the way I felt about it was similarly to how I felt about completing the level 70 samurai quest in
What
Final
the
Fantasy
hell
14.
are you talking about?
You shut the fuck up and you're gonna let me finish. In that quest, something similar happens where like apparently there's this weird culturally Japanese thing where like the flaws or like the crimes of like family members are attributed to other family members. So like this, you're helping this sister, and it turns out the big bad of that quest line is her brother, and then suddenly like everyone turns on her, and a character literally just points out like, "Hey, that's stupid," and then everyone goes like, "Oh," and then everyone just goes like, "Oh wait, you're right. I guess that is stupid. We're sorry." And I felt the same way as I did with this situation in Avatar, where I'm like, yeah, I know you're trying to get across like a nice thing here of like it's good to change your mind, but you didn't earn it. You're just presenting it, and that's it.
I'm thinking, should we wrap up season 1?
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Ko real quick?
Who is Cole?
Okay.
Ko the Face Stealer, the coolest spirit ever,
Oh, yeah.
who is only in one episode, but frankly should just have an entire series of like,
But he was
interviews.
it was
They're also in a
mentioned.
flashback in season 3.
Okay.
Yes, he should have his own little series, Ko and Friends.
Didn't he?
Ko and Friends.
Didn't he kill like the Avatar's girlfriend in a previous incarnation?
Stole her face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a water bender avatar.
My headcanon is that sometime between Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra, Sokka gets his face stolen. That's my headcanon. You will not convince me of anything else.
Why?
I have not
Sokka's
seen
face
Korra.
on Ko.
I've heard
That's probably
I've heard mixed things about Korra.
Yeah.
Let's not get into Korra.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Season
Because like after
Whole hornet's nest.
I will at least say this though, having not seen Korra. When I finished Avatar, the idea of Korra, I could already understand why it would annoy fans, because I felt like the way it ended was like everything's kind of wrapped up. So I can understand just like the fact that Korra exists would annoy people.
Yeah.
But anyways, season 2 introduces.
Do we have anything to say about the ending? About how Aang turns into a giant fish and fucks everything up?
Well, you just said it, didn't you?
Yeah.
I think Aang kills a lot of people in that part.
That's one thing I wanted to mention, which I noticed this time is like the struggle towards the end of season 3 is, can I really kill Ozai? Because it's my job as the Avatar. Can I really kill a person? And I'm like, what the fuck is up with General Zhao? You drowned that motherfucker.
Well, so he was detached from the ocean spirit at that point. They show him like unfusing with the ocean spirit, and the ocean spirit's like going back to the pool, and that's when it kills Zhao. So Aang technically,
Really? Okay.
yeah, there is a separation, but also the boat. I don't know. I mean, whatever. I guess we can suspend our disbelief and say, yeah, everyone on those boats that got hit by those massive tidal waves.
Actually,
They're fine. They're fine. Just put a Band-Aid on them.
Actually, just my final word on season 1, like as a footnote, because I want to talk about this when we talk about season 3. I had guessed accurately that Aang's final conflict of character would be reluctance to kill. We'll talk about more about that later. But I don't remember when it came up, but it was one of those moments. It may have been when he was like, "You can't fight forever." It may have been that. It was one of those more pacifist moments of his where I thought that's gonna be the ultimate character conflict. But season 2.
Okay, but forget all that, because season 2 introduces Toph. Yo, Toph's fucking awesome. She quick.
We're kind of skipping. We're skipping a bunch of episodes here, but okay.
I guess whatever. I don't care. Toph is
Secret
fucking
tunnel.
awesome.
Come on.
Toph is pretty awesome.
They kidnapped her. Like, let's cut the ambiguity. In a real life scenario, that's kidnapping. You stole a little girl, a blind girl.
But she wanted to go.
Oh well,
Yeah.
that's totally fine.
Wait, I just thought about, like, was there any real resolution between Toph and her parents?
No, I don't think there was.
There isn't, right?
I think that stuff kind of talked about and explored in the comics. So no, the answer is no.
That doesn't count.
For the confines of the show, the answer is no.
I ain't reading no fucking Avatar comic book.
We also have Azula.
Yeah. She was introduced in season 2, right?
Yeah. So
Who, for no adequately explained reason, has blue fire? Like, that's just the thing.
No,
one mentions it. No one says anything about it.
I like
It's
it.
just
I like
there.
it because when she's fighting with Zuko, I know who's who.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's probably why.
Yeah.
A big part of why they do it.
See, the way that I took it was that because blue fire is actually hotter than like the fire that the color fire normally is. So I kind of took it as like she's so fucking pissed that her fire is just blue.
Also, her name is Azula,
No.
so that kind of connects to blue fire.
Yeah, Azul. That's true.
Yeah. I'm the old.
But she's not a better or stronger firebender than Ozai or Iroh, who should be able to also then produce blue flames.
Don't overthink it.
Well, again, I think it's just represents like how fucking pissed she is all the time. Not necessarily that her fire bending is better.
Yeah.
It's more like a symbolic gesture.
No, I get it.
Yeah,
It makes it special. It's just kind of weird.
How do you measure firebending power? Right? Is it how
Midichlorians.
hot you can get your fire to be? Is it the midichlorian
Shut
count? You know what I mean? Is it like how is it the amount of fire you can produce? Is it how intelligently you can use your firebending? So I don't know. I mean, I just always assumed it was like she's such a calculating person who is so fueled by just this like very precise hatred of a few people, one of them being Zuko, one of them being her mother, that she just has this kind of hotter fire because of it. Not necessarily that she's the most powerful firebender,
It is,
but maybe that she has the potential to be. Just never really gets there.
You just brought up the question: how do you measure strength in this universe? Which I thought about that a bit in this, like on this rerun of the show, where I noticed just how I'm not even sure if it's consistent, but for example, Toph can move so much rock in a millisecond, and then you look at other earthbenders, like seasoned warriors who are defending the throne of the king, and all they can do is like throw around a bunch of pebbles, and they don't do anything else. And she fucking she displaces entire buildings. She like turns all the stairs into a slide, like of this giant building. And then I don't know. Also with firebending, there's a scene in one of these episodes where there's like a performer who's doing a performance of like complex firebending techniques. And it's that looks good, but I have seen Azula do so much more awesome shit, and Iroh too.
Like shoot lightning out of her fucking fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is really, really weird to like how differently strong. Also, the Dai agents, for example, they're supposed to be really strong, but they don't do much in terms of bending.
Yeah, they're more like ninjas, right?
They're like kabuki ninjas.
They're like hiding on roofs and shit, and then they just like drop down.
But they're like a special elite unit. Can they also do the same shit that Toph can? Or that Boomy can?
I think Toph is supposed to be the strongest earthbender ever at that point, right? Like that, and who knows exactly why. I think part of it is that earthbending is just the way she literally has to interact with the world. It's the way that she can see, through the vibrations.
Yeah.
And it is so much a part of her daily life that she is like one with earthbending. It could also be that her avatar midichlorian count is higher than other people's, and that just might be a thing that hopefully they never talk about. Why? Like some people could just be more powerful, I suppose.
Yeah.
Are you implying something about Korra?
No, Korra doesn't have anything like that.
Okay,
no.
Good.
I just think that if they did, it would be weird. Like if anything in the future does, because there is going to be a lot more Avatar in the future.
Yay!
With Avatar Studios.
I don't know how I feel about
It's
that.
also possible.
I'm fine
it's
with
also
it.
possible that she's more powerful for the same reason Zuko becomes more powerful, because she just learns earthbending from the original earthbenders.
So the way that I kind of took bending in this show is it's not like I don't think like one person is inherently a better bender than the other just because. Like it always felt like it was more about what you knew and how your drive to learn more. So like I think the reason why Azula was so much better than Zuko when they were kids I think it had more to do with like Azula just had that fucking drive to just like be better all the time, and it didn't come as naturally to Zuko, and that's why like he ate shit, when he tried to do his little.
He was a crybaby mama's boy.
Yeah, like he was still a little kid, and he still wanted to act like a little kid. And Azula at that point, she was already like, I want to be in war meetings and be the best. Like she was just a little freak.
Speaking of that, so I'm the oldest of 10 siblings. I have 7 little sisters. And there's one thing they absolutely nailed with Azula's characterization. Little sisters are evil. Like, I don't think she's quite as... She's not, like, as complex a character as Zuko is. She's just fucking evil. And I really like that.
Well, I think Azula isn't just pure evil.
She's pure evil.
She is pure evil.
Okay, no. Yes, she's very fucking...
I know what you mean,
She's very
Daniel.
fucking evil. Yes, she is very fucking evil. But I feel like you get her deal.
Yes, it doesn't come out of... Like, it comes from a place of, like... It's from where she, like... who she was born to. Like, the circumstances around her childhood. Knowing that her older brother is probably going to succeed the father. Like, that drive, yeah.
No, yeah, like she was a spoiled brat. Like, she misunderstood her mom, thinking her mom hated her when clearly that's not the case. She's just like a little kid that just didn't know any better. She was always like trying to appease her crazy fucking dad, who's a literal fucking monster.
And voiced by Mark Hamill.
Yes.
What a surprise that was when he first spoke. I was like, hey!
Yeah. It's the Joker, baby.
I'm the Joker, baby.
Fun podcast, guys.
Hey, could you quickly just record "I'm the Razbuten, baby" for us?
There's absolutely zero shot.
But that does kind of... should we get into it now? I really don't like... the Fire Lord as a character, like, because like unlike Azula where like you get her deal, I don't know what the fuck his deal is, and we never really like learn like why he's such a shit. Like he just kind of is.
Is that a season 3 conversation maybe?
I think it is.
Yeah.
All right, we could leave it for later then.
Okay, so I have notes on the ending of season 2, but I feel like there's more to talk about.
There's way more to talk about. I mean, we have before and in Ba Sing Se, right?
Yeah.
Before, I think there are a lot of great episodes even before Ba Sing Se. Like season 2 is, in my opinion, the strongest season by far.
Okay.
Like there's Zuko Alone, which I have seen people deal as the best episode of the entire show.
I think it's my favorite.
Yeah, it's the one, like Zuko. They get banished from the Fire Nation, and for the first time, like, well, I guess the second time after his first banishment, but they're really down bad. Like, they just live as beggars out there, and they don't really fit anywhere because they have these streaks of being more human and trying to help people, but then the people find out they're Fire Nation, and then they just get sent away again.
Yeah.
And it's just really hard to watch. And Iroh tries to make the best out of it, but it's kind of depressing.
Something about Zuko, and this is even apparent in season 1, he stalls pretty hard, like if in power levels, because when season 1 begins, he's like a formidable foe, but like by the end, Kitara can kick his ass, then Azula comes in and she's kicking his ass. He's not a powerful character until like the
the reason why Katara was able to just like easily kick his ass at the end of season 1 was because the moon was out, and the moon makes waterbenders way more powerful.
Sure, but my point is, Zuko does not win fights until he manages to finally kind of conquer himself,
his demons.
Yeah. Like even when he wins his fight, like we can talk about the end of season 2, he loses to his demons. When he wins, he loses, and when he loses, he wins. Because every time somebody kicks his ass, he comes away with it like with one of Iroh's fortune cookie lessons about how, no, maybe you should just be a better person, you know?
Maybe just stop being a little shit.
Yeah, maybe
he is forced to deal with defeat.
Yeah.
Very many times, and that's what makes him such a relatable character.
He's not like Jaden Yuki in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, who would just win all of his duels.
Shut the fuck up! Shut up! Not now! Right now!
Hey, if I got to make a fucking shitty FF14 comparison, he can make a shitty Yu-Gi-Oh! comparison.
Yu-Gi-Oh! GX! Yu-Gi-Oh! GX! It's not as good. It's not as good. No, but you know what I'm like. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, sure.
Yeah, sure. I mean, at this point, Zuko tries to be better, but he gets rejected by the world, basically.
Yeah.
Because he is also not really, at this point, sorry about what he's done. Like, he's still on the trip of trying to reclaim his honor, even though he has been completely banished now.
Mm-hmm.
He still hasn't completed his arc where he, I don't know, I guess forgives himself or whatever. So the world responds in kind, which I find interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forget the name of it. It might have been that Zuko Alone episode, but there was an episode where there was a little kid that was looking up to Zuko and thought like Zuko was super cool.
That is the episode.
And then at the end of the episode, he's forced to use his firebending in order to save the kid. But on top of it being a moment where he finally uses it to save the kid, it's also a moment for him where he like learns to accept himself for who he is. Like, yeah, he is a firebender. That's a part of his identity. But then everyone rejects him. Like, even though he saved that little town and he saved that little kid, both the little kid and the mother were like, no, get the fuck out of here. You're a firebender. We don't want you here.
Yeah.
See, the interesting thing, and Raz, I want to hear your thoughts on this too, but at the end of that episode, there's a flashback where they go to a memory of his mother, and his mother tells him that he should always stay true to himself. But the conclusion Zuko in season 2 comes to at that point is he stays true to himself as the prince who needs to regain his honor. And like he basically stays true to his bad self because he hasn't completed his arc yet. He isn't at that point where he needs to be for season 3. And that's also why at the end he falls back and betrays Katara and Aang and then returns to the Fire Nation. And Iroh, yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing that's interesting about it is it seems to be like an early little hint at his change, or not even a hint, but like it seems to be like the first step, right? Because you're right. I think he misinterprets the memory of what his mother was saying. But also in that moment when he does the firebending, he says, "I'm son of Ursa and Ozai." Like, he says his mother's name, which I think is probably the first time we hear him say it. And before then, it's all about, my father burned me. I need to get my father's respect. I need to get my honor back so my father will, love me again. But this is the first time we hear him say, I am part my mother. Yeah. She is part of me. And as we see in Zuko alone, with all those flashbacks, the good parts of Zuko are from her. The qualities we like about him throughout the show is oh yeah, this is when he was a more innocent kid and guided by someone really caring and loving who wanted the best for him. And I think that's a nice little moment that then gets elevated in season 3, which I guess we can talk about when we get there, but with the Fire Lord and the Avatar episode where Zuko and Aang are learning about the history of Avatar Roku. And that episode ends with Iroh being Zuko, you have 2 great grandfathers, and one of them's Roku, who is your mother's grandfather. Of this thread of, hey, Zuko, be more like your mom. Your mom's not a total shithead. Be more like her. Remember the lessons she taught you, because the good things about you came from her, not your dad.
How you're always screaming about wanting your honor back. Oh no, I'm sorry, I misinterpreted that. But yeah, that's a good observation that he specifically noted his mother's name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, then we get to Ba Sing Se. And then the real fun begins.
Okay, hold on a sec. So when Iroh heated up his little tea, fucking Zuko flipped out and was just like, "What are you doing heating up your tea? We're supposed to..." And it's okay, you're freaking out. Okay, fine, Jet saw that and that caused some issues, but
that caused a lot of issues, Daniel.
It did. But then later on, when Zuko goes on a fucking date with that girl, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, the torches aren't lit," and then he's like, "Oh, close your eyes, pew 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 pew." It's what the fuck, dude?
That is so weird. And she actually closes her eyes. She doesn't even peek. And it's but even then, it's she would be "Do I hear fire flying out? What is happening?"
Okay, even assuming she was totally oblivious, someone could have walked in while he was doing that shit. They were just out in the street at night. Someone could be "Oh, I'm gonna go get some groceries or whatever." I don't know. And then just see him fucking finger banging the torches. What the shit?
That girl is fucking dense. That she doesn't notice that at all.
Well, even if she doesn't notice, you live in a universe where firebenders are a thing. How are you not putting one and one together? How do you not know what world you live in?
I know it's just it was part of that anthology episode, and it's okay, it's not meant to be taken that seriously, but still though, it's to me it's a huge character inconsistency where he got pissed at his uncle for heating his tea, which is a comparatively very under it's just a very low key sort of thing to do, compared to him where he's out in the open literally shooting fire blasts from his fingers.
I mean, Zuko is not a very rational character at that point.
I'd also argue situationally, Iroh did it in public when they were around a bunch of people that they had been spending time with, being Jet, who they know Jet and that whole group hate firebenders big time. That is that is how they met, and that's stuff that they had heard. So doing it in that situation from Zuko's perspective would probably be bad timing, uncle. There are people who we know are distrusting watching.
I get that.
It's still stupid. It's still a stupid thing for him to do.
Like, no, yes, sure, I get it. They were more in public, but like, and it was at night and nobody was around. But like, still, somebody could have easily walked in and saw and be like, "Yo, what the fuck? I'm gonna take you to the Earth Police."
Not to mention that they got to know that girl in the tea shop, and also Jet came into the tea shop and accused them of being firebenders.
Yeah.
So maybe she was even around when that happened, and
Yeah.
she should kind of make that connection.
Maybe she made the connection and she was like, I don't care.
That could be it too, yeah.
Yeah. The thing with that episode, though, is like, okay, that part was really dumb and bad, but then you have the other part of that episode that's all about Iroh, and that part is fucking amazing. Especially how they ended it with him, like, having a little picnic, like, in the memory of his son. Like, that shit hit me right in the feels. That shit, like, oh, man. I almost teared up a little bit. Like, it was so good. I was like, fuck. And then they had that, like, in memory of Mako. Like, oh, shit, man. That almost made me tear up. Like, that really, really hit me.
Yeah.
This sometimes this show is just, like, it gets really fucking to the, like, it's so good.
His son is not often brought up. But in that moment, like, so much of his character makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, you could just trace his development even before the show to that moment.
Yeah. Well, and I think I can think of like 2 times he's brought up before, right? He's brought up in Zuko Alone, where like they're in one of the flashbacks, and then is brought up I very briefly at the end of the first season, like when Zuko's going in to find Aang, and he's like, you know, be careful. Like ever since I lost my son, I viewed you as my own, right? Like that's the other line we have. So then to have this moment where he's paying respects to his son, you have that weight, but then you also have the weight of his relationship with Zuko and like all that, and Zuko's inner conflict at that point. It's just so well done. It's such a weird choice for a Nickelodeon TV show to have a 5-minute segment about an old man like making 3 people's days better and then crying about his son. And it's like, damn,
yeah,
this is good.
Yeah,
this is really good.
It hit me so hard. Like the shit with his son, like always gets me every time because like it informs so much about his character, and like I feel like his character wouldn't be quite as good if it wasn't for that detail. It really contextualizes a lot of his behavior, and especially the way that he looks at Zuko.
I think another moment that I really liked that was heavy in a weird way, actually, it's jumping back a few episodes before Ba Sing Se when they're in the desert. So it's after the library sinks, Appa has been kidnapped, and Aang is just like huge asshole mode. Understandably, like the only connection to his old life is gone, like his oldest friend. And yeah, he goes into the Avatar state. Like he almost forces himself into the Avatar state. And like Katara just walks over, like looking exhausted, and grabs his hand, and he like darts his head towards her, and then like starts falling. I don't know. That moment is one of my favorite in the show, of just like this pain that Aang is really feeling bad, and Katara just knowing the exact way to deal with it because she's had to pull him out or try to pull him out of the Avatar state before. I don't know. Well done. I like stuff like that.
Yeah,
There's like little moments.
Yeah, that I noticed that too. That her face full of determination, and she's like, she feels so responsible to end this while everyone else is panicking and running away. So it's a really great moment.
Yeah, she just stands there, like, and it's like, you should be terrified, Katara. Like he is more unhinged than ever, and she's just like, I got this.
She's
safe.
really sad. She says that she hates seeing Aang in that state. Because it always happens when he's feeling the most angry and depressed.
He's feeling the most hurt, and he was more hurt in that moment than almost any other moment in the entire show. Because like he just found out that his best friend was literally sold off, and he doesn't know how to find him, and he's just this bundle of hurt and pain at that moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's get into Ba Sing Se, because even before we get there, there are two things that I want to talk about. One is the general world building of the show, which I know, Raz, you have made a video on that too. Like in Ba Sing Se, it's this giant city, and they have these trains run by earthbenders, and there are so many wonderful details in the show about how people are enhancing their lives with bending. That are like in Omashu, it's that system of whatever, with trolleys or whatever that they use to distribute all the wares and shit, and just so many. Then there's sand bending that they use in the desert, and there's plant bending that they use to get around in, or to fight also in the jungle. It's just there's so many little details there that I really enjoy. Okay, I just wanted to say that. I thought there was something to add there, but
I big agree with that. I think one of the first times that it really hit me was when they visit the Northern Water Tribe, and like the gates are all opened with water bending, and that I think was a moment where, and I mean Omashu as well, but that was a big moment where I was like, oh my gosh, there are so many possibilities like for things in the show. And then I think the second season does a really good job of building that out even more with the different ways earthbending is used, primarily earthbending is used to make society better, and the different ways too, depending on where they are. Yeah, I like that a lot as well.
Yeah, interestingly, I'm wondering, the Fire Nation, do they use bending to make their lives better, or do they just use machines?
I assume they power the machines with firebending.
Yeah, I was gonna say like.
Yeah, but it's yeah, I guess.
It seems to me like every culture is like catered to their element in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I find it interesting. The Fire Nation has a lot of rituals where they use firebending in some way or another, like in a lot of ceremonies where they light up something, or for example, season 3 when they go to the fire bending masters and they have to carry the flame, that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so there's that, and there's also what I want to talk about is the drill episode, which is one of my favorites, because it's just 24 minutes of pure action, and it's so fucking amazing. Like the way Aang takes out that drill at the end after they've chipped away at it literally for 20 minutes, and then the triumphant music when he just hammers the stone into that crevice and it just explodes, and God, that is so fucking good.
Yeah.
It's like, even before Ba Sing Se, like it's just, we had Ba Sing Se, but there's another problem we have to deal with first. It's literally the last line of the episode before that. And then there's this entire just episode dedicated to taking out this thing.
There's this amazing part in that episode when they're fighting on top, and like the slurry or whatever is pouring out, and like Azula is running towards Aang and just starts slipping and like slides into them, and they collide. I just love that so, because like Azula is just always so postured, maybe one hair out of line, but that's it. And just to have this full like slapstick moment with her just like slamming into Aang. I love that. It's funny.
I think moments like that, it's like, yeah, this is like a show that, especially for a kid's show, deals with like more serious stuff. But then it's like moments like that where it still brings it back. It's like, yeah, but it's still supposed to be a fun show.
It is fun, but it's also just like, again, the creativity of the fights. in terms of like I'm gonna use my airbending to just turn this stone into a point to drive into the metal. Or we're going to use the water to weaken the beams, and then we're going to use the water outside to like build up pressure in there. There's just so much done with bending.
I'm wondering, just as a bit of a side, which is the best bending?
Oh my god!
Do you think?
Oh my god! I wanted to bring this up.
Oh, do you maybe want to save this until the end?
I guess we can do it now.
Okay.
I have a lot of thoughts about this.
Okay.
I have my arguments all ready and prepared.
What the fuck? I was not expecting this.
Okay, so I'm just gonna put it out there. I initially said in the Discord that I thought airbending was the best because you can fly, but then firebenders can fly too. I still think
only the best ones.
True. I still think it's airbending because you always have access to air in this universe.
So okay, when we talk about the strength of the bendings, right? I think in my mind there are two things you need to weigh. One is the destructiveness and the efficiency in combat, and the other would be the utility.
So like
that it provides in your day-to-day life.
Would you say accessibility is also a consideration?
Well, that's part of utility for me.
Okay.
And that's why I also think waterbending is the weakest one. Because
it heals people. You can heal people with waterbending.
I guess that's true.
But you don't always
Okay.
And you can turn it to ice immediately.
I'm wondering.
But water is not everywhere.
And you can blood
No, but see, I was gonna say because
only during a full moon.
That's fine. I'll wait. It's fine.
Wait, is it only during a full moon that you can bloodbend?
then it's not as good.
Yeah, at least in Avatar.
But it's kind of comical how there always needs to be a source of water when Katara gets into a fight. Like there's always a river or like a well.
She has her little bottle.
Yeah, but she bends her own sweat at a point. You know what I mean?
But
Like
that's such a I mean, compare that to all the other elements.
Yeah,
other elements who are always around. Firebenders can just create it out of
Aang
nothing.
is never trying to like bend air out of his toenails or something like that. He always has such a
no one needs to destroy a field full of beautiful flowers just to bend.
I would have said waterbending was the strongest if it wasn't for the fact that bloodbending only works in a full moon. Like I don't even remember that detail, so I don't know how true that is. But assuming that if that isn't
trust me, it's true.
Okay, I'll trust you.
At least in Avatar. Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Okay. Because
that's why Katara doesn't do it all the time. I mean, she also doesn't want to. We're going to talk about that later, I guess. But she does it twice, which is when she learns it, and then during the Southern Raiders part, and there's a full moon out there.
Yeah, maybe earthbending. That sounds very practical. Like you live in a stone house, like your dishes and glasses are made out of glass. It seems like that would be practical.
And I
will say so I don't know if you guys have checked out this channel at all. There's a channel called Overanalyzing Avatar that is just walking through each episode of the series in like a comical way. Fun stuff. Check it out on YouTube. And in the Avatar State episode, which is the first episode of season 2, there's he mentions, because there's this move because that whole episode is the general's trying to get Aang into the Avatar state, and he gets Aang to do it at the end, but like this move where it kind of sucks Katara up into the ground, like he twists it and the ground beneath Katara like falls and she just gets pulled underground. And he mentioned like that seems like the most OP thing in the world. So I guess if you're thinking about that, earthbenders can technically just twist their hand and pull you underground and kill you. So that's pretty intense.
I'm wondering though if surely Aang can just suck the oxygen out of your lungs.
Now we're getting into JoJo's bizarre territory.
What I'll say, so I mean, can we talk about Korra at all?
I don't mind, but I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, me neither.
Sure.
So I what I'll say is that idea is touched upon in Korra. Also, there's like a lot of fan theorizing around Monk Gyatso in Aang's like mentor Monk Gyatso. When we in the third episode, whenever they go to the Southern Air Temple, and Aang like learns that Monk Gyatso died, there's a shot of him like against the wall, and like 20 firebenders all like dead in the room too.
Oh.
So it seems like he died and so did all of them. And a lot of people are theorizing, it doesn't really matter if the creators have come out and said, I don't remember, but that like he used a airbending move that just took the oxygen out of the room and killed all of them. So it is something that's hinted as a possibility in Avatar, for sure.
It also seems like with airbending, you can surely shut off firebending completely by just suffocating it out of oxygen. I don't know if like actual science works the same. Like maybe that's magic fire that's different. I don't know. But anyway, Bogan,
I feel like
what was your conclusion?
I feel like airbending in the show doesn't really work in this, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure logic where you create negative air, if you will. Like it's just used.
Wait, is that a thing?
No, of course not. I'm trying to say
like you can't create
they
a
use it mostly to move around real fast and to just push air forward in a combat way, right? Like it's not they never manipulate
individual.
the atmosphere.
Yeah, that's never like individual molecules to create a vacuum or anything.
Yeah. That's just not how airbending is portrayed.
It's more like wind bending in a way.
But so, my conclusion is that I would say airbending and earthbending are both tied for the strongest because airbenders obviously can fly, which is pretty massive.
Yeah.
And then earthbenders is just, you can fucking build everything. You can bend metal, which I think is the strongest bending.
Not only that, but earthbenders have like the strongest defenses. Like they could literally just turn themselves into the thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and also you can build just build a giant wall and throw it at your enemies. No one can get through that.
I like.
Yeah, like literally chuck like giant fucking rocks at people that will just demolish them.
I like, Daniel, how you referenced the thing, how you had to talk down to me with Marvel superheroes so that I understood you. Thank you.
Oh, that was not for your benefit. That was for the benefit
that was for the
of
viewer?
everyone else.
I was thinking of The Thing, the John Carpenter movie, and I had no idea what you meant.
You could also, with metal bending, you could become Colossus of the X-Men.
True. Kind of happens. Talk kind of.
Oh yeah, on the ship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Should firebenders be able to make fire?
In what way? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, the point said before, right? Waterbenders need a source of water. Airbenders need air around them. Earthbenders need earth. Aside from Toph, if you're in a metal room, you're screwed.
I guess we're going to.
Firebenders can produce fire. Is this? I think it's the right choice for the show. Full stop. It's the right choice for the show.
We have a chemist in the room, so maybe he can explain how fire is created.
How does magical fire work, Daniel?
It's a combination of chemicals.
Interesting.
I mean, that's the long and short of it. Also, I work in hair care and skin care. I do not work with fire.
I once tried to burn my school down. Not like.
Wait.
Not like.
Alrighty.
Not like gasoline, like kerosene or something. I just took like what do they call it? Like a detective glass, like a looking glass, and I was trying to use the sun to burn my stone school. It didn't work, obviously. But
you always do this. Like we talk about some random shit. Like we talk about a cashier character. What is it called? A cashier? Cashier?
Cashiers.
Fuck. Like someone who sells stuff. Whatever.
A
character in. cashier anime character or whatever, and then you come up with like, well, I once robbed the store. And then you tell some weird fucking story.
I've lived a life.
Where like someone gets beat up or you try to burn something down. Fuck.
It was after school hours.
Yeah,
Everybody was out. Don't worry about it.
My mind is still like caught up on John Carpenter's The Thing mixed with Avatar.
Oh, that's like the epitome of bloodbending, I think.
Yeah. You were gonna say something, Raz?
Yeah, I like the idea of an Avatar where all the firebenders carry around matches and like candles on their side. But again, I think it was the right choice to have them be able to produce fire. It is just I mean, I imagine the choice was made because carrying those things that are like lit flames probably would have just felt against the martial arts style of the show.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really wanted to, you can make some argument about how like they're channeling their body's natural heat or something. Whatever, it doesn't matter. They're fucking like
They're dragons.
elemental wizards.
They're breathing fires like dragons.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, they're elemental wizards.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah. Again, I don't have a problem with it. It is just interesting that they made the choice to have it be so different than the other elements. And it feels like it makes more sense, right? Like someone producing earth feels weird, and air is all around us, so you don't even need to worry about that. Water, I don't think I'd have a huge problem with, but still, I get it. I think it makes the most sense for any element to do it.
I think it also for the show to function, it makes more sense for the Fire Nation to be able to do that because it adds to their destructive power. Where they could just make that shit out of nowhere.
They're never on an uneven footing, like Toph on the ocean or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And it adds to their like supremacy too, right? Like they're like, hey, we're better than everyone else because we don't have to worry about these things, and we can make technological advances. I mean, right? I think an assumption, we were talking before about how they have so much machinery, like that's such a big part of their culture. And I think the assumption, right, is they were able to work with metals earlier because they could heat it easier. They could get it to temperatures to use it in cool ways and form cool machines. I think, that's the logic through line, I suppose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think they probably, it all plays into their supremacy and their views of why they think they're best.
There's this one episode in season 1 where they have the Earthbenders on the giant wooden platform where there's specifically no rock for them to bend. And that's how they keep them down. Like you couldn't keep down a firebender like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But to close my argument, I think fire would be third place after air and earth because fire has like zero or almost zero utility. It's just very, very destructive.
Heat up a cup of
you
coffee.
Can kind of heat.
Yeah.
You can kind of heat yourself or heat something else. You can use it as a light.
Oh my god! I just realized a cup of coffee. You'd have to be the avatar to make it. You get the beans from earthbending and the glass. You get the water from waterbending, firebending to heat it up, and airbending doesn't matter.
What the fuck do you think are coffee beans made out of?
They grow from
that
the
you need
earth.
Earthbending for them?
They're made out of dirt, which is what they taste like.
No, but water is the plant bending form.
That's true. Damn it, airbending doesn't. No, well, you could use airbending to like blow the steam away from the coffee and cool it down a little.
So you're saying that coffee represents all the balance of all the elements?
I am. If you carbonated your coffee, maybe then airbending matters.
So Acer, you wanted to talk about the ending of season 2?
It's very Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
We're like, your heroes are all gonna lose. And Zuko, in victory, you're gonna lose harder than you've ever lost before. Also in that cave, when he was with Kitara, like when Kitara was like comforting Aang when he was going crazy after losing his cow, that was very motherly. And when she was in the cave with Zuko, I was like, oh yeah, they have like a dynamic. Again, I think the show is hinting that they're gonna end up together, but nope, she ends up with the little kid. Doesn't she?
Katara ends up with Aang,
Yeah.
And Zuko ends up with his goth girlfriend.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
With his goth GF.
You laugh, but you know it's true.
I think the better choice for him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I understand. I mean, I understand why people like the Katara Zuko dynamic and would want them to be in a relationship. Like it's certainly.
Yeah, I'm not saying just quickly. I'm not saying I wanted it. I just thought that's what the show was signaling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And I wonder if it was a longer show, if they had a fourth or fifth season, if it would have explored some sort of arc like that, a love triangle. I'm glad that there wasn't.
I don't.
I kind of hate.
There was also
triangles.
Yeah, I don't think a love triangle.
There
would
was
work.
enough teen angst in season 3. I don't need a love triangle too.
Okay, are we done with season 2, or do?
Well, we kind of brushed over the whole Ba Sing Se arc, which I mean, that'd be an entire hour of this discussion by itself.
Yeah,
I just think
this needs to be at a reasonable length.
Yeah, by itself, I just want to say that Ba Sing Se is probably my favorite part of the entire show because it's just so creepy and political, and just this idea of this of the strongest Earth nation city having kind of isolated itself and manipulating, like being sort of evil in itself, but in a manipulative political
in a different way than the Fire Nation.
Yeah. It's not like these are the great Earth Kingdom heroes. No, they have their own shit going on. And I think that's just such a cool way for the story to go.
Yeah, very much the first season, it's all like, okay, Fire Nation bad. And then they get to the Northern Water Tribe, and it's still Fire Nation bad, but there are a few things where it's like, all right, Northern Water Tribe, kind of weird, champ. Some weird ideas, like...
what's with
not really sexist? Like, it's not like the Northern Water Tribe is perfect. Like their way of being and way of life has some problems, and it's outdated in a lot of ways, and not just in like the kind of sexist idea of we won't train girls, but also just like you see it in their knowledge of the rest of the world. Like they have that.
I don't train women. You just see the stream Parkers.
It's just all these things. And then it elevates even more when you get to the second season.
I remember there was a scene where Sokka was like, hey, that Fire Nation armor doesn't look like that. That's super outdated. What is this, like 100 years old? And the other guy chimed in. He's like, actually, it's 80 years old.
Yeah. So they're just behind the times. They're not a perfect civilization either. Yeah. And then you hit, I think season 2 is the big one of like, Fire Nation's still bad, but Earth Nation problematic too.
Kind of
we get our first mini villain, right? We get our first mini villain who tries to force Aang into the Avatar state by pretending to kill Katara, and then we see a bunch of Earth Nation towns that some of them are, cool, and some of them have a lot of problems with like the soldiers who are who Zuko confronts and Zuko alone, and like an entire city dedicated to like burning Avatar effigies. Like it's just you start to really feel like the Earth Kingdom has its issues too. And Ba Sing Se, as you're saying, is like this big moment where it's all laid bare of like, oh, the king is an idiot. He's a stooge who's being run by the Dai Li, who are just evil. Like the Dai Li are just as bad as the Fire Nation, and that's why they side with them. That's why eventually like they follow the power, and they follow Azula because of that. And I think that's a really interesting choice. Instead of always just making it Fire Nation bad, it's like there's bad everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think as we kind of talked earlier too, the other side of the coin is Fire Nation brainwashed, lots of propaganda. Some people really, really bad. But a big part of it is like they grew up knowing nothing else, and need to be reprogrammed and need to be retaught, and all that. And I think you can see I mean, we don't need to get into season 3 immediately, but you can see like that's starting to shift with the younger generation in the dancing episode, in the Footloose episode of Avatar. You know, the kids are a little more balanced than the adults because they have had less brainwashing throughout their life.
I feel like this idea, though, was kind of hinted at even in season 1 with Jet, where, like, yeah, Jet's family was destroyed by the Fire Nation. He has a right to be angry and to want to fight back, but he takes that shit way too far, where, like, he attacks an old man for no fucking reason, and Sokka's like, dude, chill. And he's like, no chill. He's Fire Nation.
It's like when Marky Mark attacked that Vietnamese blind guy.
What?
Didn't know about that?
What are you talking about?
When Mark Wahlberg attacked that old man.
Like in real life?
Yeah. So the story was that he had attacked some old Vietnamese man and blinded him. But then it came out that the man was actually blind before he was attacked.
This is a real thing that happened?
Yeah,
Mark Wahlberg is kind of a huge piece of shit. Like that's, it certainly has had a very problematic past, especially. It's been a pretty, really, really shitty.
Wow, I was hoping this was just going to be some random, like, reference to the Funky Bunch or something.
No, he's a weird guy. Yeah, okay. Season 3, season 2.
Hold on.
But yeah,
before we move on to season 3, do you guys want to take a break? Just to
I do want to say something about the end.
Yeah.
Which, like the final confrontation, which I think is that is actually my favorite fight in the entire show. Like I just love the 2-on-2 dynamic of that going on.
Yes, also I agree with you. Go on.
Just the little moments, like actually Katara manages to sort of incapacitate Azula, and Zuko has to help Azula get free. Like that is such a little moment that I find kind of wild, because Azula at that point has been almost indestructible. So yeah, it's just I love the fight choreography there. I do have a little problem with the fact that there's this entire episode before that where Aang learns to open his chakras with his guru, and he fails at the last one because he's not ready to let Katara go, like just let go of his feelings for her.
Yeah.
And then I always found it kind of weird that
in the moment
moment,
he's like, okay, let me just do it real quick.
let me just, go into this ball of stone and then say, fuck you, Katara, real quick. And then I can turn into the Avatar. Like, he's just so, in this stressful battle, he's suddenly, all right, I guess, let's do this.
It's weird, though, because, like, in that moment, he's letting go of his feelings for her in order to save her.
He's not really letting go of his feelings for her.
In order to win the fight, I guess.
I think what's interesting, and it's something, honestly, I've still am not sure on, is like, what does it even mean, right, to let go of earthly attachments? Like, what is it asking to fully not have any, skin in the game and stake? Because no other avatar who has mastered the avatar state has had that, right? Like Roku has a family. That's the only one I know. But other avatars who have mastered the avatar state had families, had earthly attachments.
One of them had a girlfriend we know of who lost her face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he could use the avatar state. So I always wonder, like, is it just the willingness to lose those things? Is that what it means to give up your earthly attachment? I guess there is a fair bit of that with, like, Katara hates when Aang goes into the avatar state because she associates it with, his pain, his loss, and all those things. And it seems like, very actively bothers her when he has to use it. So maybe that's part of it, is him like being okay with being distanced from her. I don't know. It's like, what does it mean? What does it mean truly to get rid of your earthly attachments?
It's a very Buddhist monk sort of line of thinking.
Yeah, we could maybe expand a bit on that when it comes to the ending. Because we talked about this on Discord, I have a big issue with how the show wraps up, which we maybe want to talk about.
Yeah, I have some issues too in season 3, but we can talk about that after the break.
Yes.
Sure.
So we'll be right back, folks. And we're back. Welcome back, everyone. It's time to discuss the last final season of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Avatar: The Last Hairbender, or like it. What was up with that hair?
Oh,
it was so annoying to watch.
Why? I think you look really great. I love the evolution of the hair in the show. Like, it's even, you notice it even with Sokka and Katara.
Yeah.
Their hair changes. There's also that really, really weird transitioning period with Zuko in season 2 when they get banished and they take off their ponytails or whatever it's called. And then there's one episode where it's just slightly growing back and Zuko looks really fucking weird.
But wait, Boken, as a bald man, I thought you would have hated the hair.
Yes, all bald men hate hair. That's how this works.
Is that why you hate Picard, the show, because they gave Patrick Stewart a wig?
Yeah, there we go.
The fuck are you talking about? They didn't give him a wig.
Just talking shit.
I like Aang's hair. I think it makes him feel older too, which is important for a handful of things. I think it's important for his character development, right? That he starts feeling a little more mature and older, and he starts acting a little more mature and older as the stakes are just so much higher than they were 2 seasons before. I think it also helps with the Aang Katara romance, because I mean, obviously they're both young, but she's a little older, so you get a nice moment. She's like, "Hey, I really like your hair." And he's like, "What the fuck? I have hair?" Jesus. But I don't know. I like the hair. The hair doesn't bother me.
I would have liked it if Sokka had like a mustache, like just a couple of hairs.
Well, he had.
Well, yeah,
like,
he
the
did have a
fake
beard, a fake beard. Yeah.
So this might sound weird.
Glued on my face.
This might sound weird, but I think I had the most problems with season 3. But season 3 is also my favorite season.
I have the exact same opinion about it.
I like 2 more, but I feel you.
Like
this has a lot of the strongest moments, I would say.
Like there's so much good shit in season 3. Like, although I will say the lack of Iroh throughout most of it was very painful.
It's tough because I think they were put in it was just a hard situation having to cast a new actor as Iroh, who I think did fine. Like, he did fine, but...
Oh my God.
When he spoke, I did kind of like hyper focus on his voice because I was like really aware. But at the same time, I was like, after a while, I was like, you know what? He sounds fine. And I really, really liked how in the beginning, he just hardly spoke a word. And it made sense. Like when because he was like, again, he was doing the crouching dumbass hidden badass where he's like, he's acting like an idiot in his jail cell, but then secretly he's like doing like, curl ups and pull ups and push ups. And it's like, damn.
I'm gonna be honest here. This is the first I'm realizing the voice actor actually died after season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This, I did not notice this at all. Like, I know, I heard at some point that the voice actor is dead.
That's
I thought
why. that's why in season 2, in that vignette episode, there's in memory of Mako. That's to the voice actor.
Yeah, I guess right now I figured they just added that after the fact, when he actually died. I did not know there was a new voice actor. I did not notice this at all.
Yeah. Came in season 3. And I think that, I mean, by design, and it worked well for Iroh and Zuko's relationship to have it be that way. But yeah, I think by design, they wanted Iroh to have less lines so it'd be less noticeable. Is certainly one part of it. But yeah.
Yeah, but like we said, like the guy who replaced him did a really good job. Like I think you would have to be, I think you'd have to be like very, very nitpicky to like really point out the differences. But yeah, season 3 is a doozy. Like I feel like parts of it is kind of rushed, and I feel like the show could have benefited from another season to kind of flesh out some of the stuff that was a bit like lacking in season 3. I don't know if you guys feel the same.
I strongly disagree.
Okay.
I guess it depends how long the last season. I think another 20 episodes would have been bad for the show. I think I like that it was such a short, contained thing that like did pretty much what it wanted to do. Maybe it could have benefited from like 5 episodes.
Yeah, I don't know.
A full season would have been a little too much.
Maybe, but like I did feel like there was enough stuff in season 3 that kind of fell short. That I feel like if there was just more of the show, that it would have helped things along. Like I think one thing is season 3 is where Zuko finally joins the group, but it felt like we didn't get enough time to really see the party dynamic with Zuko in it, because like by the time he joins, the show's almost over, and then it ends. And I felt like, damn,
To be fair though, every episode after Zuko joins is pretty much here's Zuko having an adventure with this character. Here's Zuko having an adventure with...
and they're all some of the best episodes.
Yeah.
Like that is after the invasion, the season gets so fucking good. Every fucking episode is like a hit.
Yeah, but like that's Zuko hanging out with like one specific character. I would have liked more episodes where it was the group being a group together and just hanging out.
Maybe
going on.
Maybe
adventures.
they could have cut the beach episode and given us just a party episode.
Nah, the beach episode. I think you don't like the beach
angsty.
episode.
I cringed.
I think the beach episode is one of the best of the series. Genuinely, I think it's
you don't have any emotions. It's easy for you, kids.
When Azula is like, "Oh, we're gonna be the most powerful fucking couple in fire," I was like, "Shut up, just stop."
I mean, that part's not the good part.
I like them being socially inept with real kids. I like Zuko just having. Yeah, that's I like that where he's like, I'm the Zuko, I have so much honor, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's like, who the fuck is this weirdo?
Yeah, I mean, I love how you realize not, like, how fucked up all the main cast is, or all the, I guess, the villain side of the cast is, in terms of the world. Because before you're like, oh, well, I guess it's kind of normal that they're like this in this world. But then you see what actual normal people are like, and you're like, oh, God.
They're so cringe.
These people are wild.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that. I really like Zuko's like stuff at the end of the episode where everyone's like, who are you mad at? Like, you mad at Uncle, mad at Dad? And he's like, I'm mad at myself. I think that's a really strong moment in the show.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't like teens being mad, but a little teen angst is relatable.
I just think the writing in itself is just a bit too on the nose. Like they literally tell the audience what the characters are about. Like no one has a conversation like this, and it's difficult to write this in 20 minutes for 4 different characters. It's just, I like the episode in theory. I just think there's too little time for that scene where they actually talk it out at the end. And then also just the fact that they trash the entire villa for really no good reason except to be complete assholes. Like,
I know. I know. I remember watching that, and my only thought was like, "What the fuck? These people did nothing to you."
No, I like that part.
Yeah. I'm gonna say about season 3. There are. I can point right now to 3 episodes that are pretty much complete filler. That if you did not have those and instead had some more important episodes, or like an episode where Toph and Zuko have their own adventure, that would be nice.
Yeah, I was really bummed when like Toph was like trying to talk to Zuko, and he's like, "Hey, look, we need to find Aang," and I was like, "No, no,
Yeah.
fuck you."
You go off, have an adventure, kids.
Thing is, what would be a good Toph Zuko episode?
They're very different characters.
Because like, well, and there could be comedy from that, but it's like Katara's is very pointed. It's her learning to forgive Zuko, and Zuko helping like use the information he has to let Katara get revenge, or the opportunity for revenge.
I really disliked the conclusion there, where the general was like, "I killed your mother. Why don't you just take my mother?" Like this like nitpick, sure, but like surely this would have played better if the point would better be made if he'd just been like an old man incapable of defending himself. And she's like,
I think I like that he's like irredeemable. Like he is like, it's not that he's gotten better in his old age. Like he could still be awful and
irredeemable, but I just think like, I don't know. It's maybe it's just the way that it feels like he's played for comedy, where the point, I don't know, I feel like him specifically framed that way sucks so much energy out of like what is supposed to be a very serious moment for Katara. But maybe that's me.
In a way, though, don't you think that's how Katara feels? Where like in that moment, a lot of her energy is kind of sucked out when she's finally confronted with this dirtbag, and it's this. Yeah. It's like this is the guy. Really?
Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way.
That's kind of how I felt. Where I was like, you as the viewer and Katara are like literally on the same page. Yeah. Of just like, this guy's not even worth it.
Yeah. I'm more so thinking though that the point shouldn't be that he's not worth it. The point should be like, you are more powerful than him, but you are not obligated to be like, you don't need to take revenge. And I feel that point was sort of undercut by him making the joke. But that's, like I said,
I didn't take it as a joke. I like when he's like, "Oh, take my mother."
No,
instead.
like the show. I should have said, playing it kind of like a joke.
I don't know.
I don't feel it's that played like a joke. Like he's just sitting there whimpering, actually fearing for his life.
Yeah, I didn't take.
It's certainly an absurd thing to say. Like, and you realize the absurdity and just the awfulness of the character, which might, feel like it's being played for laughs. But yeah, I also did not think it was meant to be like. I don't think the show was trying to make you laugh with it. It was more of like,
maybe I just need to watch that episode again.
Yeah, I don't like watching the episode. I don't remember it trying to be funny. That wasn't the vibe.
Yeah,
like that wasn't the optics.
Yeah. Anyway, Raz, I interrupted you.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, Katara has that arc, and then Sokka's arc is all about like these people that he, wants to save, that he kind of feels like are in jail because of his poor leadership in different ways, and he needs to try to get over that in some ways. And then Aang is trying to get over his fear of firebending and can't really firebend because he's been so afraid of hurting Katara for so long, and needs to learn there's other places to pull firebending from, along with Zuko, who, Zuko learned different things on those journeys. What does Toph have to learn? Like, Toph is a pretty static character throughout the series.
Yeah, the only conflict with Toph is with her parents.
So I guess you're. That's a good point. They could have had. I don't know exactly how you'd fit it in. There could have been something with Toph and Zuko bonding over really shitty parents. There's the episode. I'm on your side.
it didn't necessarily need to be like they're going back to like patch things up necessarily with the parents. But yeah, they could have had like an adventure that was that didn't really have to do with their parents, but just it's just the two of them now are together and they can bond over how their parents suck, or rather, more specifically, how Zuko's dad sucks.
Yeah,
I'm also thinking that there could be an episode where, I don't know, like Zuko is very hot-headed still. Toph likes to fuck with people a lot, where that sort of escalates, where they, I don't know, just do things to each other until it actually turns into actual drama, and they have, they come to an understanding at the end.
Yeah, my guess is that would have felt too much like a retread of Toph and Katara's relationship.
Yeah.
That they would have wanted.
The Runaway.
What
is the
are
episode
the So what are the 3 episodes that you said you could identify 3 episodes that you would consider cutting to make other time?
The Runaway, even though it's not a bad episode, I actually like the Katara and Toph relationship in that. I just don't think it's very vital. The Painted Lady, 100% can go.
Painted Lady.
And then,
is that the Small Village episode?
Yeah, where Katara saves the village.
I think that's an important episode.
Okay.
I think you're just saying this to make me annoyed.
Well, you're half right. No, I think I think it's important because it doesn't say anything new, but it reaffirms that idea of, you have this disharmonious relationship between the people of the land and the land itself, where you're polluting the water, and what we talked about earlier. I just feel like it was good that they went back to that theme in like that little microcosm.
It's also sort of an episode about trying to ground the show a bit more into the episodic structure, where it's like at this point it has become all about this giant conflict of trying to stop the Fire Nation, and like someone like Katara is just not willing, when right next to her something bad happens, to just not help these people.
Can we talk about how Katara was poisoning? What's the cow's name? Not Momo. Appa. Katara.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't poison.
I think they say it was harmless.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just. They were just berries that made his tongue blue.
Oh, they were just pretending it like it was sick.
It's so weird that Appa is smart enough to play along with that
Appa's
plan.
Just lazy. Appa's just lazy. Just wants to sleep.
Appa was just vibing, man. He's just like, yeah, my tongue's blue. Just let me sleep.
Tired of flying all the time. Damn.
Nightmares and Daydreams, I would also cut.
Which one is that?
Which is just the episode of...
I love Nightmares and Daydreams, but I get it. I don't think you're wrong. But I love that episode. It's just
where Aang can sleep.
Oh yeah.
Aang is just like tripping balls, and like he starts imagining that Appa and Momo are like fighting each other as samurais.
And he keeps having these dreams like, you forgot to do
Mark
your math
Hamill.
homework.
Mark Hamill gets to be a bit silly.
You're not wearing any pants.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This reminds me of like a Stephen King quote where like he had released like a version of a book that was like very chopped up, and then he was able to release like the director's cut version where it was like the complete book. And in the complete version he wrote something like, yeah, I released the other version and it was like a car without like the rims or the paint or the nice upholstery. Like, yeah, it functions, but it's not boss, like it's not fucking awesome. Like, and that's kind of how I feel like if you remove these episodes, will the show still technically function? Yes, but I think their inclusion does make it more boss.
Well, I'm saying more replace the episodes with something more substantial.
I think we should. I
agree with.
I think we should just
the painted lady aspect of it.
What were you saying, Raz?
I think I agree with the painted lady cutting that. Like, Because what does it establish? I mean, it establishes that, hurting the earth bad. It establishes Katara doesn't like leaving people in need, But I think you get some of that a few episodes later with the Puppet Master episode. I think Nightmares and Daydreams is really valuable as like a big breath of comedy and like the show not being too serious while still trying to juggle serious things before hitting a pretty solid stretch. I mean, especially like a 2-part episode that's all relatively heavy with the invasion. And then, a handful of things of the Zuko field trips, which are all a little heavy. It's just like this little breath before a long stretch of more serious tilted stuff, which I think also the Ember Island Players, the like recap episode, which is the best clip show episode any show has ever done ever.
Yeah.
I fucking hate this episode.
It's that same way of it being a breath like before the intense stuff. And I think there's value to that in creating a contrast to it and giving viewers a little bit of time to like sit with tension and not have tension always be elevating.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that in terms of like a pacing argument.
Even beyond
absolutely.
pacing, though, I think the episode does a good job of kind of like humanizing Aang more, and like obviously Aang has been humanized a lot throughout the show, but like I think in that episode in particular, it shows a really vulnerable side to him where like, yeah, he may be the Avatar, he may be like one of the most powerful benders in the world, but he still feels an anxiety. He still stresses over things. He's still like unsure of himself. He's still insecure. And that manifests through him not being able to sleep. Like he is so stressed out about the invasion and having to fight the Fire Lord that he literally can't sleep.
I think like you could cut them, but I'd rather you don't. They're all good. Like if they did,
none of these are
if
bad.
If they did cut them, I'd be like, oh man, if only there were 3 more episodes to kind of just go over some stuff.
I still feel that way as the show is now. I want there to be more episodes to like go over some more stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that ties into what I was saying earlier, and that has to do with fucking Fire Lord. The Ozai dude sucks. I think he's like a pretty whatever villain, because throughout the show we learn what Azula's deal is. Yeah, she's evil as fuck, but we know exactly what her deal is. What is Ozai's deal? I don't know this dude.
Oh, hold on, sorry, but we're kind of ramping up towards the end now.
Okay.
I do at least want to talk about Sokka's Master, the episode. Because I think other people have pointed this out too. It's a bit strange that Sokka, like in a day, becomes a sort of a sword fighting master.
He's not though. Like even at the end,
he becomes extremely competent at sword fighting in just one day.
He becomes more competent, but he's not a master.
No,
like he was only able to quote unquote like, fight at the same, like when he's fighting his master, like he's barely fighting at all. Like he's running away most of the time. He's like using every trick in the book that he's got. He throws fucking dirt in his eyes. Like he's hardly a competent, sword fighter.
I don't know. I think it's similar to Katara and Master Paku. Wait, it doesn't bother me. It's just something that I noticed.
No, I thought with Kitara there was a much bigger gulf. Like with Kitara, she was literally like all of a sudden doing all of these crazy fucking moves. While with Sokka, I felt like the fight that he had with his master, it was very scrappy. It was very like running away, like just narrowly avoiding the blade, and
it's a lot of stuff we've seen from Sokka before, just with a cooler sword now.
I actually feel the opposite, Daniel, where I think Sokka's episode makes more sense because, they're building the sword, they're like creating it, they're refining it. I think that's kind of almost a metaphor for Sokka, where they're not teaching him to become a great swordmaster. They're just refining, like, he can do all of these things. We're just refining it into a style which you can actually employ. Whereas with Kitara, it was stuff that she couldn't do, and now she can do it.
Yeah, that was my main issue there. And that's why I think, the Sokka episode I think is more effective.
Well, and what's his? I can't remember the master's name.
Swordman
or something like that.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Swordman.
Voiced by the T-1000.
He like says, and he's like, when I took you on as a student, it wasn't because of your skill. It definitely was, like he points out like, yeah, Sokka, you're a fucking scrub, but like you are creative and thoughtful in a way that you are. So yeah, I mean,
sure.
You are right that it is like a 2 or 3 day period of great growth, which isn't impossible. And I like that idea of like more of like it's refinement rather than learning all these skills, but learning to like embrace his approach to things while also, taking on a few extra elements.
Because like the big conflict for him in that episode was he's not a bender. He can't do what Toph, Aang, and Katara can do. So he was feeling like the odd one out. And when he's absent for that episode, that's when the group really missed him the most, because they were like, damn, I don't know what to do with my day. He was always really good at like scheduling things, and now everyone's just kind of aimless and the humor doesn't work anymore. But like when he was learning from his master, he was learning about, just improving himself. He was learning like Ace already said, refinement.
Sure. What you just said, Daniel, that Sokka felt bad because he doesn't have bending powers. Yeah. That's actually one aspect of the show that I really enjoy, is that there are a lot of fighters who don't have bending, who can still pull their weight in a fight. Like we see that throughout the show.
Ty Lee and Mai especially.
Ty Lee and Mai. I feel like Mai, whatever.
Mai.
I like her, but I feel like they never know how to choreograph her in fights. Like she shoots something, someone else blocks it, and then her part is basically done. But she's definitely an example of that. Jet is also an example of that. Like he has that really cool fight in the trees with Aang. There's also like the Kyoshi fighters.
Warriors, yeah.
And then Sokka also becomes that kind of fighter where he doesn't have bending powers, but they still manage to fight with weapons against benders.
They can hold their own.
I always loved that. Yeah, that's pretty great.
Yeah, because obviously, like bending is like super OP, and it's good that they have these characters, that don't have these special abilities, so that it kind of brings that, like, it kind of anchors the show a bit, and it allows you to have like more dynamic fights as well, because like if everyone was just bending all the time, I think the show would be a lot more chaotic. And it also forces them to be more creative with the fight sequences.
Yeah.
They also kind of break the physics of things, but I can take that.
Whatever, it's a kid's show.
Yeah.
I think the gravity in the Avatar universe, is just a little different than ours. So
Rubbery people.
It's fine.
And then the other episode I really want to talk about, because it's my favorite one, is the Puppet Master, which I think is so fucking amazing. Like, it's so completely different than pretty much the entire show.
Which episode is that?
That's the one where Katara learns bloodbending.
All right.
With the creepy grammar. It's just I love bloodbending as a concept. I love how this episode turns into horror towards the end.
I'm not gonna lie. Like the bloodbending stuff physically made me like cringe
because it was so uncomfortable. It's so perfect.
Yeah. Like shit just grossed me out. I was just like, ugh. Didn't want to look at the
You
screen.
did bloodbending,
And then just this-
Kitara. And then she was dragged away.
Yeah, this conclusion of just actually forcing Katara to use this technique, and it's like, no, my work here is fucking done. You're a monster too now. It's so good. Like, just the entire fucking episode, man. And then also just the little things beforehand where Hama teaches Katara, like, you can pull water out of thin air. You can use these plants, and she just destroys this flower field. And it's like, well, kind of a pity about these plants, but fuck plants. Like,
Yeah. They're just
we're in
fucking
enemy
flowers.
territory here. Just there's such a wonderful sense of escalation, where it's just she starts out very nice, and then you get these little insights into that she's actually sort of a villain, and then she just ramps up to complete horror monster towards the end.
Yeah, like even the way that she's drawn towards the end of the episode, she just looks horrific.
Yeah. These shots where she just grins like a maniac in the moonlight. Fucking gorgeous. I love this episode so much.
Yeah, good shit.
But yeah, no, I guess we can go to the end now.
Okay. All right.
Wait,
Yeah.
hold on. I have one more thing I want to talk
What's up?
about before the end. That episode where we learned that Roku and the old Fire Lord were friends. I like that episode. I don't like the ending where like the Fire Lord goes and helps him on the volcano, but then he just leaves again. Like,
Yeah, why did
yeah,
he go
it's
there?
like he only went there to abandon him, and like I get it. I get it as a story, like you're telling a story, but like you just can't contrive the reason to get him there.
I kind of took it more as like in the moment, it was his compulsion to help his friend, but then like as it hit him, he was like, "Well, wait, if I leave him, then I can finally do what I want."
Yeah, sure. I guess you could read it that way.
It's just very coincidental that the Fire Lord decided to visit the Avatar on the day that this volcano breaks out.
Well, I think he saw it from a distance.
No, yeah,
like
he didn't visit him.
Are
say,
they that
like,
close?
He's reading. He rode on a dragon,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I don't know what the speed of dragon is, but I think it's probably
Pretty fast.
quick. They
don't drag.
No, yeah, I don't think it was.
They don't drag on, I said, and you didn't laugh.
Sorry. Run it again.
But no, yeah, I'm pretty sure he wasn't visiting him. Like I distinctly remember.
Wasn't he woken up by the volcano?
The fight. Yeah.
He saw it in the distance. Like he makes a comment like, even though it was the Roku's island was so far away, I could see the smoke from the palace.
It's really useful to have
Okay.
somebody with us in these episodes who like knows the show we're talking about.
What is that supposed
Okay.
to mean?
Kind of an insult towards
Yeah.
me, but thanks.
Are you? I think you're insulting yourself when you say that.
me too. Like half the time when we do these extravaganza episodes, it's like, wait, what happened? What?
The thing I recommended.
Yeah.
But all right, I guess it's time to talk about the ending. So, Acer, I have some issues with it too. But you seem to have more issues with the ending. So let's.
Well, I'm
let's go with
wondering.
that. Let's go. Let's
Okay,
go over
so, I said earlier that I had guessed in season 1 that Aang's final conflict would be his resistance to killing the Fire Lord. And when the show was like ratcheting up and that actually became the conflict, I felt so vindicated. I was like, yes, I got it. I pieced together this puzzle. I noticed all the little things. And then at the end of their fight, when it was just like, nobody can perform this move except if you're pure of heart. And then he was pure of heart. I was like, man, get out of here with that shonen bullshit. Why didn't you kill him? And
The show would have been so much worse. Had
Yeah,
he killed
no.
him. Like if you killed him, it would have been worse.
I disagree. I think it would have. I think you can. I don't think killing him automatically makes it better, but I think thematically that would have been better than what we got.
Nah.
See,
I disagree.
I'll show my working. The entire show, we talked about this earlier. It has to do with the relationship between man's world and the world of the nature and yada yada. That Aang disappeared 100 years ago. That was I'm choosing Aang's fears over the Avatar's the Avatar's obligation to the world. I'm neglecting that, and because of that, now all these horrible things are allowed to happen. And the point of the Avatar, like my idea with if you kill the Fire Lord, that Aang is held back by those same fears about I don't want to become the Avatar. I don't want to kill the guy because I still have my morals instilled in me by these Tibetan monks. But my thinking is, if you kill him, then that is the final cross. Like that's the final threshold you have to cross, because you have to let Aang go and you have to become the Avatar, and the Avatar's obligations to the world are whatever they are, and if that means killing the guy, then you just have to kill the guy. I just feel like his original issue, like his initial conflict was, am I Aang or am I the Avatar, and I'm gonna retreat and I'm gonna be Aang. I feel like I felt I was owed a moment where he decided, no, I'm going to become the Avatar and I'm going to sacrifice Aang. Whether that had to be him actually killing, I don't know, but that's where I was working with, and I was very upset because I had felt so vindicated that I was like, yeah, I totally guessed what was going to happen, and then it didn't happen, and I was like, no, it's a bad show now because I couldn't guess it.
See, I think a major element of the show is this idea that the way things are not necessarily the way they should be, and like learning from the mistakes of past generations. Like that's
true.
A lot of
true.
Zuko's shit is like, I grew up being like, okay, Fire Nation good, but Fire Nation bad, actually, and learning from his dad being a piece of shit, learning from Iroh's mistakes, and that like the Fire Nation shouldn't be ruling everything. And I think what we see with Aang is like he talks to all the other avatars who are like, yeah, kill him.
Yeah.
fucking kill him. But, I think Aang kind of deciding like, they're all saying this, but not all of them even would take their own advice. Because we see like Roku didn't kill him, right? Roku didn't make the decision that he kind of tells Aang to do. And I think Aang decides like, I can find a way to be like an avatar that I want to be, that isn't defined by
I can
Roku
be my own
or
avatar
or other avatars. Yeah. And that's why I think it works. Is like he finds a solution to the problem that and like, don't get me wrong, I have some issues with how he finds the solution.
I was gonna say
kind of how quickly it happens. I do have issues with that. I wish there was more to that.
Yes.
But I think him finding a different way that isn't killing him is kind of quintessential. Like, I am forging my own path as the avatar. There isn't a perfect way to do this. All these other avatars like have done great things, but have also fucked up plenty. And I might fuck up too, but like, this is how I'm going to do it because this is what I'm
going to fuck up.
And that's what I like.
I agree that, that like on paper, like I said, I'm not saying the show would immediately be better if you killed him. I can totally see it from your perspective of, the show is also about how things shouldn't be how they are now. And, you can find a different solution. But, if that's what it's going to be, I just can't accept the solution that I got, that No, you just have to shut off his powers, and you can do it because you have such a pure heart. I felt like I was owed something
Well, no.
a lot.
No. It wasn't that his heart was pure. It's that his spear was unbendable. He was basically like super
only the purest of hearts can do that. I'm pretty sure that's a line.
I felt I was owed something other than that. I felt I was. If you're gonna go with, I'm gonna find my own solution. I don't think the solution can be, here's this magic spell you can cast because you're the shonen anime protagonist. I say that.
Yeah,
I just want to just quickly. I'm not saying it's a bad ending, or I'm not trying to denigrate how the show concludes because I like where all the characters are at the end. I just feel like that specific moment should have concluded somehow differently.
I feel like it would have been a lot better if the solution did not just literally manifest out of nowhere to present itself to Aang and just be like, this turtle dude literally comes out of nowhere and he's just like, hey Aang, what's up? You want to beat that Fire Lord? Here you go.
You want to kill him?
Like, that's
no
it.
problem.
That's it. That's literally how it is. It just comes out of nowhere to give him the solution.
I think,
and that's why I keep saying. I'm sorry. Let me finish. Just
go ahead.
That's why I kept saying like, oh, I wish there was another season because stuff like this would have been easier to buy because then maybe, or this could have been foreshadowed in an earlier episode or something maybe. And then, like, we could have had an episode dedicated to what's this turtle thing? What's his deal? You know, like, how did he learn about stopping people from bending and all that? Like, maybe there's like a whole tribe or a whole history or culture or whatever about this turtle that we could have learned about. And then I think that would have made the solution that he introduced a little bit easier to buy. Or at least, like, maybe there's something like Aang could have actively sought out, like, okay, I need to find out what to do, and then he could have stumbled upon whatever. I'm just saying that, like, there could have been a better way to have set up this solution rather than how it was just thrown at Aang. Okay, go ahead, Raz.
So, I mean, one thing in Korra is the lion turtles are brought up again there as ties to bending. And a lot of people are mad that it's like not talked about in Avatar: The Last Airbender, but comes up in Korra. And I mean, I have less of a problem with that, but it would have been pretty cool if we explored that in Avatar
yes.
Before this. And then, I mean, people would have been less mad at Korra, I'm sure. But also, B, like, it would have led to this moment a little better. I do like this idea that in the Avatar world, there are just kind of these, like, spirit creatures who are roaming around and all-powerful, or very powerful, and are like, all right, comet's coming. This guy's about to try to burn the whole earth. I'm going to go seek out the Avatar and try to help him. I think that's kind of interesting. Not that I'm saying it's presented perfectly, but as a concept, I like it. I think a small change, if we're going to, I mean, if they would have just mentioned lion turtles a little bit more, I think they come up once or twice, but aren't talked about a ton. If they would have talked about them a little more and a little earlier, that could have helped. I think also, like, Aang going into the fight, knowing that he has the power to take away someone's bending, could have helped a lot of things about it. Because I think part of it is, like, they have this whole fight, and then at the end of it, that's when he's like, all right, I'm going to take away your bending. And we as an audience are like, wait, when did this happen?
Yeah, it just kind of happens, and then we get the flashback, and it's like, but in that moment, we're just like, what the fuck is happening? Why are they turning into the Kool-Aid Man?
The interesting part of that,
I think,
sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
Oh God, I actually have multiple things to say. I think my problem, we don't even need the lion turtle. My problem with the lion turtle is that it sort of takes away from Aang's agency as a character. Like, if we saw Aang actually come up with this technique, like you could easily have some sort of spirit world explanation of, no, actually all bending comes from a connection to the spirit world, and I, as the Avatar, maybe I find this way to to disconnect someone from the spirit world, and thus I take away their bending. Like if that was part of one episode, and then he sort of goes back and develops this technique, and then he uses it, then I could see it as Aang came up with this. This is his solution, instead of it being presented to him.
Sure.
What I find interesting also is that he goes into the last fight, and he seems at the end, when he has defeated the Fire Lord, he seems willing to not do it. He gives him the chance, just like Goku gives Frieza the chance to survive. I'm gonna let you go free, and then the Fire Lord attacks him again, and only then he actually uses that technique. Like it's sort of a last resort for him. He doesn't seem to want to do it in the first place.
Well, I can kind of imagine it would be similar to like removing the Force from like a Jedi, and which is something that Knights of the Old Republic 2 kind of touches on, where like it feels like someone is just like blinding your senses in a way. So like Aang probably realized that in removing his bending, it would be like kind of erasing an aspect of who this person is. So it's not something that he really wants to do.
What if he would have just moved the moon back a few inches and just closed out the sun again? How unsatisfying would that have been?
Did he use earthbending? He used earthbending to move the moon?
Honestly, I'm in. That sounds amazing. That's a great idea.
And then Zuko has already taken control of the Fire Kingdom. So Ozai has no political power anymore. So he's just some guy. No, I don't know. I'm not a writer of these things. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know if it needs fixing.
Zuko,
either. I'm just saying. I felt I was owed a conclusion to Aang's story, which had to do with his character, and I feel like I wasn't happy with what I got.
I feel like, though, him doing that and not killing the Fire Lord has a lot less to do with the Fire Lord, and it does have a lot more to do with Aang. I think in doing that, it was his way of preserving himself as well as preserving the teachings of the Air Tribe, the monks, because he is literally the last of his kind. He's not even just the last Airbender; he is the last monk. And by being true to himself and by not killing the Fire Lord, he has maintained his culture.
True.
And I feel like that is very in line with.
I think you can look at both versions and say they're in line. Like that is obviously in line, but I also think if you were to kill him, you could make the argument that, well, you know, you chose Aang's concerns last time and that fucked the world over. Now you're gonna have to let them go.
I just think if he actually had killed him, that would be such a dour note to hang above the ending. Like the ending would become about this instead of actually wrapping up and like trying to restore the world. Like this is, if Aang actually killed a person and he had chosen to do it, that would be the most important takeaway from that fight. And everything had to be about that then. And it's just difficult to imagine a true ending.
See, I don't think you can do that in a Nickelodeon show, but I think you can do it in a way where it's satisfactory. Because
I mean, that's another thing, though, right? Like, this is a kid's show. Like, just to have the main character literally dead ass just kill the main bad guy in cold blood, I think that would betray the tone of the show.
True. I don't know. I feel like
the same Berserk, bro.
Yeah, I know. I just like the god hand emerges.
I know we're all waiting for Guts to chop off Griffith's head, but like that's.
Oh my God! Yes. Remember when Aang went into that stone shell? What if he would have emerged out as Femto?
My issue with the last 4 episodes is more sort of the logistics of the plan of the Fire Lord, which I'm sort of wonky on. Burn everything to the ground, but really what we're doing is just burning a patch of the fire of the Earth Nation, and I think they're moving towards Ba Sing Se. But if that is the end goal, like, why don't they start there? They already control the land. It's like, I understand it's supposed to give this visual of great destruction, but it's and they can't reach Ba Sing Se because then they have won. But it's just weird that they start out at the ocean and then slowly move north. Like, how long do you actually have this power of the comet? What is your end goal here?
Weren't they just going to collapse the Earth Kingdom because they were the only ones who were really capable of keeping them in check or something?
Yeah.
No, it is too hard to keep the Earth Kingdom under control, so they just want to burn it down. But they start out in somewhere in the wilderness. Like, they fucking fight in a giant field of like mountains and these weird stone things.
Farmland. It's there's tons of Earth Kingdom farms there that have just been evacuated. And it's a little too high to see all the. Yeah, that's it.
Like, just fly to the city.
Clearly,
just go get the fleet to the city and then wait for the comet and burn down the city. Like, come on.
Another issue I had, if you're done, Bogan.
No, well, go on.
I feel like Kitara was just sort of glued to the resolution of Zuko's story because they couldn't find anywhere to place her.
I disagree with that. I think the way she overwhelms Azula is pretty
yes,
great.
But I feel like that's not a conclusion to her character, is it?
I mean,
her character is sort of concluded.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, her character's kind of done. Like, the only thing with her character that I feel like was a little weird was that, like, so Aang kisses her earlier in the season, and it's like, yeah, awesome, cool, but then they don't really talk about it, and Aang is like, yo, I thought we were going to be a thing, and we're not. What's that about? And then she's like, well, I'm confused, and he tried to kiss her, and she's like, hey, that's not cool. I just said I was confused. And then that doesn't get brought up, and then at the very end, they just kiss, and it says the end, and I'm like,
yeah, I feel like, yeah, she kind of got. I feel like she got lost in the shuffle of like winding the show down. Like, maybe the man who killed her mother is like a general she decides to confront at the end of the war or something. I don't know. I feel like Aang and Zuko had really good things to do at the end. I feel like everyone else was sort of just like, what can we do with them?
Well, I mean, because a lot of them had big parts of their arcs finished by then. And Toph never really had one, which is also, I think, is fine. Like, I don't think that's a knock on her character.
That's because she's top tier.
Yeah, we have barely talked about Toph, but I think we all love her as a character. She is just awesome, but there's really nothing to talk about except the fact that she's fucking awesome.
She's kind of like Ryder from Fate Zero. She's just fucking awesome. Like, there's not much else to say. Like, yes, there is a lot to say, but at the same time, there's not, because she's so evidently awesome.
I like how well she responds to the play where they cast like a muscle man as her. She's like, yeah, that's right.
I wouldn't have cast it any other way.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're right in that Katara is glued to Zuko, and seemingly more so to benefit Zuko, to give him like,
he chooses to defend her
at the end of book 2. At the end of book 2 he betrays her, and at the end of book 3 he like is willing to die for her, like do something very risky and potentially die. Which is a really good Zuko moment.
I always thought that was a nice detail that she was the last one to actually invite him into the group and forgive him in season 3. But then they both team up for that moment, like for to just take over the final.
I like the final fight between Zuko and Azula, because they didn't have Zuko with all of his new powers just wipe the floor with her. Like, I think it was obvious by the way they were fighting that he had become more powerful than her, but I really like that they fought so often and she always won. I like that they didn't have to show him winning, because he had grown beyond the need to prove himself that way, and it was more important to him to protect his friend.
Yeah, that's why the music is so fucking sad. Like, it's not supposed to be an exciting battle. The battle is basically won. It's just fucking tragic what happened to Azula and their family.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really liked how Azula just
collapsed,
like cracked at the end. Like she just was a wreck at the end. I thought that was really interesting. And I love the moment where she's so crazed that she's just like cutting her hair and it's all shitty. And then she sees her mom in the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her mom was just like, hey, I always loved you, you know, like, and she just can't handle the truth and just like smashes the mirror. Like, that was a great moment.
It's interesting that Azula and Zuko at the end, they both get exactly what they wanted, and Zuko decides, you know what, I've grown beyond this. I don't want this anymore, and he fucks off. And Azula, she's just like, she tries to embrace it, but she just completely collapses. She doesn't know what to do after she has it.
Like, she just gets super paranoid. Like, everyone that was like close to her, she's just like banishing them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because of a moment that we haven't talked about, but the betrayal of May and Ty Lee.
Yeah. Like, that was what triggered it.
Yeah.
You're right.
That had consequences, which I didn't think it would at the moment. I was just like, oh yeah, now she's out of the show. But like, no. This, they build on this.
Yeah.
So, like, one of the things I really liked about, I guess I should have mentioned this more when we were talking about season 2, but I really liked the inclusion of Mai and Ty Lee, because it gets across again that, like, yeah, Fire Nation is not like inherently evil. Like, these Ty Lee and Mai are good people. They just kind of misguided and they're on the wrong side. But like, when it comes down to it, like, you know, they're really good. They're good people. And I think they act as like good foils for the main cast throughout season 2. And had the circumstances been different, they could have just as easily been a part of the gang, and they could have been like going on adventures with them, and they could have been like hanging out, and they could have been great friends. But like, you know, unfortunately, that wasn't how it worked out. And I think that betrayal for Azula was like, it just broke her, because she's so used to having everything go her way. She has lived her entire life with just everything given to her. She's super gifted, you know, she's daddy's little girl. She's a princess, gotten everything she's ever wanted. And in this moment, she didn't get what she wanted. Like, and she just did not know how to handle that.
Also, the language there of like, I think the line May says is, "You miscalculated. I love Zuko more than I fear you." And just like, it's this idea, right, that Azula has always operated off of fear. Like, the first time we're introduced to her, like, the captain of the ship is like, "Hey, the tide won't allow us to come in." And she's like, she gives that whole speech about like, will the tides think twice about bashing your body against the rocks? And he's like, "No, ma'am." And she's like, "Well, maybe you should listen to me, who's still mulling that over." You know, like, just like immediately it's all about fear. Like, she rules with fear. And not only is she betrayed by people that she in her fucked up worldview considers as friends, but that fear that she had had held on so tightly, and it's how she recruited Ty Lee, right? To her group. She like lights the net on fire, has all the animals released in the circus. Like she's just constantly using fear to get people under her thumb. And like, yeah, sure, we can get a little cheesy with it here, but May is like, no, love is conquering fear here.
And the fact that it's
like, oh
May.
shit.
The character who has like no passion, who is always bored, but even she is like, no, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how goth chicks are sometimes.
Yeah.
Daniel clearly showcasing his biases here.
Just a little bit.
I like Ty Lee. I think it's so cool that she's like low-key one of the strongest fighters in this entire show. And just the concept of her quote-unquote powers it's a great addition.
Yeah. I mean, and it's cool because there's a moment when she like takes away bending where like they like are afraid of her, you know, and it's funny because she's like just this very, you know, cutesy girl who also has like the most terrifying abilities against any bender because like, yeah, it's taking away their power.
She's like a non-lethal Kenshiro.
Who?
From like Fist of the North Star.
I've heard about that.
Don't fucking come on. You guys never heard of Fist of the North Star?
I've heard about it.
He's the guy that like does the you're already dead. You know, he like
that's where that's from.
Yeah. He just uses his fingers to like touch pressure points and then people's body parts just blow up.
That's a lot of
more like the 9-finger technique or whatever from Kill Bill.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Fist of the North Star came out way before Kill Bill.
Sure.
And
anyway, so my last gripe that I really want to talk about with the ending is just the entire thing with Toph, Sokka, and Suki. I feel like what they do, I mean, obviously it's very important. I like that they've been included in this way. I just think there's a lot of breaking the physics of the universe in the show, but what they do to these ships is just I can't suspend my disbelief to this point. Like the entire operation of we're gonna take this ship that we've never flown before. We're gonna ram it through every other airship that is there in a perfect line, and like I'm just sitting there. How the fuck are you even operating the ship when you've thrown the entire crew into the sea? And then, you know, when they're almost about to die, they're almost about to fall off from that ship, and then Suki comes in flying another ship. Like she's just she's just with just a rope hanging onto one of the like fins or whatever it is of the airship. Like, how is she maneuvering this thing? It makes no fucking sense. Like that is
that was kind of silly.
That is crazy. Like
I don't know. I think that's in the spirit of Avatar, though. Like all of that is in the spirit of the show. It's not like that sort of and I don't think it's wrong to say it's kind of silly, right? But that sort of thing is not exactly like this is the first time something like that has happened. I don't know. I think that's in the spirit of the show for sure.
I was not bothered by it in the moment because in the moment I was like, that's fucking cool. I mean, sure, in the back of my mind was I thinking a little like, oh, Suki coming in at the right moment was kind of convenient? Maybe. But at the same time, it was fucking cool and I could forgive it.
This was my fourth watch or something. And now I noticed, I think this is cool. I think this is an awesome just sequence. And I love that they included these characters in the ending. It's just, I feel like Avatar is actually very tightly written for the most part. Like there are a lot of a lot of little details and like sort of underhanded comments where they explain something that you would normally ask a question about. One thing I noticed was when they got into Omashu for the second time. Like the first time they do this little thing where they pretend they're elders and they are let through the gate. And then the second time, the Fire Nation has taken over the city, and now they need to get in by another way, and they go through the sewers. And then Sokka is like, "Why didn't we take this way before?" And then it's just like Aang opens the sewers, and it's just all the sewage coming out, and like, does that answer your question? And it's not dwelled on. It's just this little line.
You know what?
That's all I need. The show is very consistent about that sort of stuff.
Another example of
except
that,
at the ending.
Another good example of that was when Zuko was trying to join the group, and they go, "Well, Appa seems to like him." Like, yeah, because he freed her. Like that whole whole arc, like technically speaking, resolved itself, kinda. But like that was important. He freed her.
Yeah.
Wait, Appa's a girl?
Oh, he freed him.
No, Appa's a boy.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, wait a second.
Or in one more example, in the episode where Sokka learns sword fighting, that's so, like, the intro is actually, I think it's like a volcano breaking out or something? Or the forest. Yeah, right. The meteor hits the forest, and they need to put out the fire.
Yeah.
And not only is that intro used to establish that Sokka is sort of useless without his bending, but the meteor is also then brought back for Sokka to create a sword. Like, and it's just this could be just a throwaway little action scene at the end, but they use the time they have very efficiently.
Yeah.
And so the fact that at the end there are a few too many conveniences and just problems of me suspending my disbelief. It's uncharacteristic for the show.
Again, I think it comes down to, like, they were probably rushed. It was like, who knows what their deadlines were, like, trying to wrap up this entire fucking show at the very end like that. I can forgive some of the sloppiness for that reason.
Definitely.
Because I'm sure
it's only bad when you compare it to how excellent it had been at that point. Like, in a vacuum, it's still a good conclusion, like, all things considered.
And it's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah.
It's just noticeable.
The ending to season 2 is definitely stronger in that sense.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Like Acer said, it's like an Empire Strikes Back moment. Fucking good guys lose. Like, what? It's, especially for a kid's show, that's pretty nuts.
Oh, actually, at the end of the Fire Lord and Aang are fighting, I really like that it was the Fire Lord who reawoke Aang's avatar power by, like, continuing to attack him, and it pressured into his spine until he finally got it back. I thought that was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't like that.
I really like that, because it's like, your aggression is coming right back at you. You did this to yourself.
Okay.
I think that's an interesting take. I don't know that I've thought about it in that way, but it makes me like it a little more.
Okay, yeah. I didn't think of it like that either. I was just thinking, like, this fucking rock is what activates the avatar state. Like, what the fuck? He's just.
I think maybe that scene would have played better if it wasn't like a jagged rock perfectly shaped to Aang's wound.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if he just got thrown against it and covered in rocks, and like. And the idea is, the Fire Lord's aggression awoke it. I think that would have felt a little better. But because it's just, like, so perfectly placed, it's like, all right, so for this to work, Aang needed to hold up right here, get pressured by the Fire Lord in this exact way, get pushed back at this speed, at this height, to hit this little... It feels a little... That I think the way it's animated makes it feel a little, like...
Contrived.
Convenient, I suppose, and contrived. But if you just had him getting hit and it wasn't such a perfect match to the thing, that could have actually read a little bit better of, he's being forced into it. And what's awakening it is, like, the biggest threat to his life he's ever had.
What if Sokka's sword had fallen from the heavens on his spine?
Right when he goes, no, space sword, and it just falls on Aang.
I'll say for the Suki thing, while certainly it's like, how is she strong enough to be controlling the direction of this thing with the rope? Obviously you can't kill Toph and Sokka. I think the show is worse if you do that.
Yes, agreed.
But I think having that moment where both of them accept their death I really like that. Just like both of them are like, this is it. Like, Boomerang's not coming back, Toph.
You made a video on that.
I think that moment for me, is worth, a little bit of a goofy.
I need to go watch your Avatar videos. You guys are name dropping them like crazy. Are your Avatar videos good, Raz?
I think they're all right.
I remember.
All right. One of them's older. One of them's like 4 years old at this point. So
it's practically old enough to vote.
It's just older,
In internet time, it's practically an old man.
It's old enough to be desensitized to internet porn.
All right. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up?
Are you excited for the live-action Netflix show, Boken? I know you are. The original creators left the project due to creative differences.
Live?
Yeah.
Wait, it's gonna be live action?
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh, no.
Well, okay, so there's a few Avatar
God,
announcements. One was that they were doing a live action show. And Michael DiMartino and Bryan Konietzko were tied to it. For some reason, they really wanted a live action movie, and they seemed really excited to have a chance, or a show. They seemed excited to have a chance to do it, and they were like, we're going to do it right this time, opposed to the last time.
I don't understand why you would want to do this.
I don't either. It doesn't make sense to me.
How do you can't translate these fights into real action? It is never going to happen.
Of course you can.
No amount of CGI is going to make this happen.
Haven't you? I would love nothing more than to just be over, just have CGI vomited into my eyeballs for like 30-minute action sequences.
So real quick, I couldn't even fucking finish it, but I saw like a snippet of an interview between M. Night Shyamalan and the creators of Avatar, and they were talking about like, we try so hard to make the show cinematic, and it's going to be so exciting to see the show on the big screen and to see that cinematic intent fully realized. And I just turned off the interview right there. I was like, you poor boys, you handed off your baby to this fucking hack.
Dude.
I've not felt so much empathy and sorrow for another human being in that moment. I was like, oh my God.
You can fucking give it to Denis Villeneuve or something. He's not going to make it right. Like, the way the show animates, the way these characters move in these very martial arts, forms and techniques, no human can move this way. It is not possible. It is never going to look
They'll
good.
just do
and
it
then
with
on top
CGI.
of all the effects, fuck, man, fuck.
I think they left the project, the live action
Creative
project.
differences.
I'm not fully sure why. It seemed creative differences. I've heard stuff like the live action one wants to age up Katara, but not age up Aang.
Oh, that's good. No,
which is interesting.
What?
It seems like they're gonna cut that relationship, and probably my guess is it's a move to hit the Zutara shippers.
No,
that lucrative audience.
No.
But then more recently, the Avatar Studios got announced, which is, I guess, a sub-project of Nickelodeon, run by the creators of Avatar, Bryan Konietzko and Michael DiMartino. And I guess they're bringing more Avatar stories. It should be noted, I guess, the head writer on Avatar, Aaron Ehaus, is no longer in that group. He's doing his own show, The Dragon Prince.
Yeah, I was going to say,
is that good?
Which is on Netflix.
The first episode... We didn't note this. The first episode was directed by Star Wars' Dave Filoni. I think George Lucas pilfered a lot of ideas for this when it came to the Clone Wars TV show. But you were saying about Dragon Prince, sorry?
It's okay. I think what I pull away from it is that, especially like looking at Korra versus Dragon Prince, I think that Brian Konietzko and Michael DiMartino are really, at least what I like, they do really interesting world building. And I've heard a lot, I've seen a lot of development stuff from them on Avatar: The Last Airbender, and they were behind a lot of those ideas. But I think they're worse at character writing, and I think Aaron E. Haas is really good at character writing. So the Dragon Prince, like, the characters are really good, which will probably carry the show for a lot of people, but the world kind of feels weird and empty and not all that special.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Avatar: The Last Airbender was like this perfect merger of the mind.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of stuff with Zuko and Toph all came from Aaron E. Haas. But, I mean, you never know what's actually true. Sure. Like, this is all, just rumors floating around. But it seems like a lot of Zuko stuff was kind of Aaron E. Haas's brainchild, which, would watching Dragon Prince makes a lot of sense to me. And watching Korra makes a lot of sense to me.
I am entirely against this.
Yeah.
Just the sentence, there were multiple Avatar announcements, makes me want to vomit.
Honestly, yeah. Like, when I finished the show, I was just like, I don't need any more. Like, obviously, like I've been saying, I would have liked another season. So I would have liked some of the stuff that I felt was, I've mentioned before, loose, whatever, to have been tightened up with more episodes. But aside from that, that show ended fine. Like, it's a pretty neat little bow at the end. Aang and Katara kiss. It says the end. We're done.
Which would anger you more, Bogan? Another Avatar, or a new threat, but it's still Zuko and Aang and the gang, and they have to come together again to face a new enemy. This time from the Metal Kingdom on the other continent come to invade.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not entirely against the concept of a new Avatar, but I don't need it. I don't want it. It's just...
I'm cool with it.
It kind of reminds me of that, like, Star of Milos fucking Full Metal Alchemist movie that came out after Brotherhood. It's a trash movie.
It's really good. I really like it. You don't know what you're talking about.
I hate that fucking movie.
It's so good.
And a big part of it is just like the story's done. Like, these characters, their stories have been told. We don't need more.
But if you want more, it's really good. It's really good.
Not.
It's so
Get
good.
Out of here.
The main villain. It's so good. It's a good twist, and like, it's such a beautiful world that they created there. Like the city and how it all operates. I like it.
I'm sorry, Raz. You were gonna say something.
I think I would be unhappy if we get, especially anything long form about the Avatar group, about like Aang, Zuko. Yeah, I would be not super interested in that. Just especially with how Korra is established of being like 80 years later, it would not really be interested in that at this point. Maybe if they did like a movie of like, I know there's a comic about searching for Zuko's mom. I'd be okay with that maybe, but I don't know. It's also like the voice actor who played Aang was a kid and now is grown up. So it's like, that'd be weird. Not that that's a huge limiter, but it'd be a little weird. I would be interested in a prequel or a sequel about some different Avatar who we've never heard of. Do I need it? No. Am I asking for it? No. Will I watch it? Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of interesting... The world is just so massive and I think has a lot of really interesting stories to tell in it, which is, maybe this is an unpopular opinion. It's why I'm cool with the Star Wars shit. I don't think a lot of it's been good, but I'm cool with the concept of telling stories in the big Star Wars universe because there's a lot of interesting stuff there for stories to be told. Certainly the execution has not fully been what I would want it to be. I also don't really give that much of a fuck about Star Wars, so maybe that's part of it too. But yeah, I'm cool with more Avatar stories. I'd prefer if they didn't touch the ones that have finished. I think you're right. Like the story about Aang and the group, it's done. You know, I don't want more from it. What I really want is an Avatar set like 1,000 years in the future, like a
Cyberpunk or
Cyberpunk Avatar. Yeah, Cyberpunk Avatar. That's what I want the next series to be. That's my feeling.
I have
Cyberpunk
an idea.
bending.
Isn't that just Shadowrun then?
Yeah.
See, I was gonna pitch you the Mandalorian, but instead of Baby Yoda, it's Baby Avatar, and he has to take care of him.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Wouldn't it be Baby Momo?
The monkey.
No. I mean, I think the idea is you're trying to protect the most powerful kid in the world. Every once in a while, he can go into the Avatar state as a baby and like save them from bad situations.
Yeah,
right?
it's just like, hey, I need some guy to take care of the Avatar. I'm just pitching you the Mandalorian, basically.
Avatar: The Last Baby Bender. Got it.
Avatar: The Last Fastbender. He's a good actor. I feel like we've had this. This was supposed to be a 2-hour episode.
Yeah, that fucking came and went. With that in mind, though, I think it is about time to wrap things up. So, unless anyone has a final thing that they want to bring up.
Did you hit all the points on Ozai that you wanted to hit?
I think I said it enough. Like,
Okay.
we don't know his deal. That's my biggest issue with him.
Yeah.
Like, what's his fucking deal? Why are you so mad, bro?
I actually, I have one final thing to say. Bogan, you will be very happy that every name in the show is pronounced phonetically correct from how they would be in Chinese. So Aang is Aang in Chinese, Sokka, Zuko, Ozan, Katara, they're all proper Chinese pronunciations. You're a big stickler for this?
You know this how?
I went on Google Translate and I listened to all of them. I checked. Because I wanted
Okay, then.
I wanted to drop this on you like, haha, in phonetic Chinese it's actually Aang. But I couldn't find a single one. So, that's one for you.
Okay, so we're going to just finish up with some of our conclusions, basically. So, Boken, what are your final words? How is it revisiting the show?
Great. I think I've talked enough. I'm more interested in your guys' overall thoughts because I recommended this.
Okay. Acer, what are your final thoughts?
It was aight. No, it was really good. It's like a really good, very calm shonen. That's very well written. It's got like I think every aspect of the show is very, very good. Like character writing, like you said earlier, Raz, really good. World building, really good. Just the writing itself, it's so tight and it so naturally leads into everything else. I have some hangups about the ending. I would have liked for Aang to execute Ozan, like Ozai, gangster style, just on the street curb. But yeah, I really liked it.
All right, cool beans. All right, Raz. I mean, I know you've watched the show a bunch of times already, but what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, I think it is obviously, it's one of the greats. Like, it's just universally accepted as a solid show. It does pretty much everything well. Like on average, is just always doing everything well. And I think what's also interesting is seeing how much it has influenced storytellers since it's come out. I think, especially if you're looking in the kids' cartoon area of things, we have so many shows that are clearly taking inspiration from Avatar, primarily with Zuko. For better and worse, I think the like Zuko-fication of cartoons has been in full swing. I think, you look at shows. I don't know if you've seen all these, but I mean, stuff like Steven Universe does a lot of things to try to humanize villains, and She-Ra has the whole relationship with She-Ra and Catra. Like, it's like so many cartoons are trying to start presenting villains in ways that aren't just kind of the one-note typical way we got from kids' cartoons in the past, which has been interesting. I think we've seen a lot of these kind of redemption arcs showing up. So it's hugely inspirational.
Zuko is still the benchmark for that, for sure. Like, I also saw this brought up in relation to Adam Driver's character. What the fuck is his name?
Kylo
Star
Ren.
Wars. Kylo Ren, yeah. That's like a...
Oh, he also has a face scar. Interesting. Oh, hey, and he also has a beef with Mark Hamill. It's all coming together.
It's all coming together.
Dave Filoni.
But yeah, so I was actually, because Boken was actually thinking of recommending something else, and I was the one that really pushed for Avatar, because this was just one of those shows that I'd always heard so much about, and I just wanted an excuse to watch it. And I'm really glad I did, because I really ended up enjoying it a lot. And I think it's a really fun show. We've talked about how great the characters are. The world building is really fun and interesting and unique. The stories are really well told. Overall, I think it's a really great show, and I definitely see and understand why it's like persisted over the years. Like, this is just a show that people can't let go. I mean, there are still videos that are coming out about it. This is a show that's still that's on people's minds, and there's a good reason for that. Like, this show still holds up. And yeah, we've talked about some of the issues here and there, but like, whatever, everything's got problems, and this show is not defined by its problems.
Very minimal problems, I would say.
Yeah, like, I feel like when I reflect on this show, I'm not going to be thinking about like, fucking Zuko, why were you like shooting the torches? But like, I'm going to be thinking about like the great fight scenes, like the fight with Aang and Ozai at the end is a fucking awesome fight. I'm going to be thinking about like how great of a character Zuko is. I'm going to think about how funny Iroh is. I'm going to think about like all the cool shit Toph does. Like, it's a show that's persevered because it's so unique for what it is, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, Acer, what's going to be the next project? Have you thought about it?
Well, I've thought about it for like the past 2 minutes while we've been wrapping up. I don't know. I'll have something for you next time we record.
Okay, we'll just leave it for next time then. I want to thank Raz for joining us. A pleasure to have you, good sir.
Thanks very much.
Please plug yourself. Let the people know where they can watch your stuff.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. First off, of course. I'm on YouTube. So you just type in dumbass and type in Razbuten with a B, and I'll come up probably.
There's also going to be a link in the description.
Cool. Go down to the description and consider clicking the link. And yeah.
Oh wait, Raz, before we close this out, were you gonna watch the M. Night Shyamalan movie with us?
Okay.
No pressure.
See, that's why I didn't mention this, because I didn't want to pressure you into this. It's totally fine.
Why would you
not want to watch?
You want me to watch the M. Night Shyamalan Avatar?
Look, we can cut this out of the episode. We can cut this out of the episode if you don't want to. It's perfectly fine. But we were gonna do a commentary for it, and it's just like open invitation if you want to be with us.
Like, are you gonna watch it and do a commentary on it live,
Yeah.
or you're just saying like another discussion like this?
Just a movie commentary track as we watch it.
Yeah.
Check in with me. I'm not opposed to it, but it's just all about
Timing, yeah.
timing.
Okay, sure.
Sure. No, totally fair, dude.
And you Bogan,
All right.
you were afraid of
I
pressuring
haven't watched
him.
that movie in like 15 years. I watched it in theaters, and it,
See, because we all haven't seen it yet. This is gonna
okay,
be fun.
I've seen it once. It was in theaters, and it was something. But yeah, let me know. I would have interest, but it's just all about timing.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, we wouldn't want to evoke any bad memories. All right. That's pretty much it. Thank you all for listening. We will see you all next
Bye-bye.
time. Take care.
Bye.